Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another pair of rounds in the UK Sim Racing community's Porsche Cup Season 7, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. And today marks rounds 13 and 14, and with a trip back in time to the United Kingdom, back to the year 2008 for a legacy version of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. That's right, folks, we've gone back to the county Northamptonshire for the venerable home of British motorsport, and well, what better circuit to run us into the season finale with the fact with high downforce layout, sweeping corners, extended straights and heavy braking zones, and wide open road surface which encourages 3 or 4 wide at the best of times. It is a circuit that will get the blood pumping, the adrenaline fueled, and with it all, who will come out to top come the end of tonight. And there's a high possibility as well that we maybe see the crowning of our Gold Drivers Champion and also our Teams Champions tonight. So therefore plenty of racing ahead, and it's all on the line before we get to the season finale, and it's going to tee us up for the ultimate season finale as the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup continues to go from strength to strength. And I'd arguably say this has been the best season so far, albeit I could be a little bit biased in the commentary booth. Well, as we get ready to go racing today, this broadcast being brought to you live from circuit side, only available on the official UK Sim Racing YouTube channel. Indeed, if you go to youtube.com and search for UK Sim Racing, or abbreviate it to UKSR, we can tune in there. And welcome to you all in the chat. And well, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, we do strongly recommend you do so, because that way you're able to stay up to date with all the latest broadcasts and all the highlight reels that follow. Indeed, those highlight reels continue to arise now as the broadcast and media team kick things into top gear, and we've got plenty more planned for the channel at the remainder of 2023. But as we get ready to go racing tonight, in the commentary booth you have myself, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and I will bring you all your racing action over the course of the 2 rounds here today in the United Kingdom. And well, let's give you a recap of the season thus far and what still lies in wait. And as we can see, we're now down towards the bottom. It's the 24th of August today, and only one more round after today. But it'd be unfair if we didn't go all the way back to the beginning. Give you a quick summary. We started off back on the 29th of June at Road Atlanta in the United States of America, and for our first 2 rounds of the season of the roller coaster ride of road racing, we got to see plenty of battles. But it was Olympus Esports who announced themselves on the scene with their debut in the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup, and they absolutely led the way at the front of the field in the gold class, with Thomas Cope and Patrik Thomsen in particular, and Dan Sedgwick as well also getting into the mix. Then round number 3, we made our way to Spa for our first endurance race round of the season, and the legendary Belgian circuit there seen a home hero arise in the form of Jeremy De Bova in the silver class, who led the way from the front of the class from start to finish in our first endurance race round of the season. And then rounds 4 and 5, we made our way back to the United States of America for the Watkins Glen International Cup course. And there it was Porsche Cup meets NASCAR layout meets UK Sim Racing, and the fact the race action was fast, it was furious, and it was almost akin to running around an oval there, albeit with a couple of corners thrown into the mix, plenty of battles and also some major drama in amongst all the field, and therefore it set us up for a mid-season break, an early mid-season break at that, but one where everybody needed to dip their toes, cool down, and get ready for the run into the second half of the season. Well, we started that off on the 27th of July at the Virginia International Raceway, and in round 6 and 7 it was all about the battle to be inside the top 5 in the gold class in the feature race, where we got to see in particular Simon Bamber putting up an absolutely stoic defence, and also likes of Kelly Ramadan, Danny Lee, and also was Emil Koopmans trying to fight their way on through. And then in round number 8, the Circuito de Jerez in our second endurance race round of the season. Well, in Spain, it was the silver class that dominated the proceedings, albeit whilst Jeremy De Bova ran away with things at the front of the field, it was the battle for P2 that caught our eyes, and the battle of the 2 Chris's, Chris Eddersford versus Chris Rance, and Eddersford coming out on top there after what was the best part of 25 minutes of battle in action. And in rounds 9 and 10, we made our way back to the United States of America for the 4th and final time of the season, and it was for the 10th of August in another sprint and feature combination. And at the classic Road America circuit, we got to see our try to go full throttle throughout with his extended straights and limited technical corner sequences. But there we also got to see the battle between Philipp Hammer and Thomas Cope at the front of the field shift up a gear, and in particular Thomas Cope missing out on a major opportunity to really seal the deal if he was able to pick up major results at Circuit Charles Villeneuve a week later, and that's why the championship is still open today. But speaking of Circuit Charles Villeneuve, that's where we were last time out on the 17th of August, and there at the Canadian circuit we got to see many a driver come close to the World Champions, only a few getting caught out by it in the end. We also got to see the rise of Danny Lee in the feature race, who just missed out on bringing home his maiden win of his UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup career, being beaten to the post of the final lap by Philipp Hammer in the gold class. And in the silver class, once again we are treated to a phenomenal battle between Chris Eddersford and Chris Rance, and we also got to see Adam Greaveson absolutely flying strong at the front of the silver class field. So today it's the 24th of August and a visit to the United Kingdom with the Silverstone Grand Prix 2008 circuit, and in a week's time we bring the curtain down at the one and only Suzuka Grand Prix circuit. The 31st of August, it's the season finale with round 15 of 15, and what more of a circuit to be synonymous with championship drama and right at the end of a season. And you only need to look back to the Formula 1 championships of the end of the 1980s and the early 1990s to know exactly what I'm referring to when it came down to Senna and Prost, and could we see some drama of our own in a week's time? Well, before we can get to that, let's give you a reminder of the championship standings after 12 rounds of racing, and we start with the Gold at Drivers' Championship, and here we can see it's Olympus Esports Vanguard's Thomas Cope who leads away, who on 203 points now has an advantage that has grown all the way up to a grand total of what is there 58 points over Philipp Hammer, and well, the key point being around here, in fact I do believe that's a little bit less than 58 points. Let's do our mathematics correctly. It is 48 points in fact there, let's not get it wrong. And well, right now the Team Germany driver under major pressure today. He needs to pick up both wins if he wants to keep this championship open, and for Thomas Cope to have a disastrous day by comparison. But if Cope is able to take the win in the sprint race, we do believe that it'll be mathematically impossible for Hammer to be able to come back even if he does win the feature. So we'll have to wait and see, and we won't be calling him our champion until we go into the season finale in a week's time, given the mathematics involved. But then in P3 it's Patrik Thomsen, pulling away from the top two now, but still trying to hold off Dan Sedgley, his Olympus Esports sister team rival from Olympus Esports Titan, versus the Vanguard driver, and they're squabbling over P3. But Corey Lazarus from Blackout Motorsport completed the top five there. The New Zealander having to be wary of the fact he's got Igor Kos and Danny Lee fast approaching from behind, and both drivers very eager to try and find the way into the top five, and both looking for their first wins of the season. James Parker in P8 for iRacing his DCW Racing, falling away for the top 7. He's only 4 points to get a Simon Bamba, with Paul Busby completed the top 10 there for Effect Simulations. We haven't seen him on circuit in recent rounds. We do miss seeing the P10 driver there racing all around. Indeed, some brilliant battles throughout the season. We do hope to see him again in the near future. Best of SP11 is Samuel K. Sprout, and he's only 2 points ahead of Emil Koopmans, with the Apex Misters driver going into a stronger mode last time out in Canada, albeit he has been talking about today that he's been finding difficulty in finding the flow of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, and could we perhaps see Koopmans really having to battle uphill? But behind him, Joe Newman for Empire Motorsport ahead of teammate Nathan Foster, and they have a 1 point advantage over Ryan Walker from Satellite Racing, who completes your top 15. And there's Khalid Ramadan, Jack Atkinson, Lee Deemer, Dean Powell and Mark Jones to complete your top 20, albeit Lucas Mano only outside the top 20 based on result countback, and he has a 2 point advantage over Roxanne Marshall, with Lee Holmes behind on result countback, and the same for Lars Wutzig for Leaf Esports. And then we have Stefan Liversdage, Marcel Fridge and Ashley Ingram completing your gold championship standings, and we immediately come across to the silver class. Now here we can see in the silver class the complexion is rather similar. We have a top two that's broken away from the field, and it's Jeremy DeBova for DeBova Challenge, who leads by only 9 points over Chris Eddersford. Now you could think the UKSimRacing admin team driver is very close now to taking the championship lead, but there's just one problem. This includes drop scores, and Jeremy DeBova has a 0 drop score in effect. He did miss the racing at Watkins Glen, and that means right now Chris Eddersford needs to dominate tonight. As he said in his post-round interview only a week ago, he needs both wins here at Silverstone in order to have a chance of beating DeBova. That's how concerned he is at DeBova getting the maximum possible points over the next 2 rounds, whereas Eddersford will need to drop a score that makes up his 131, so therefore for Eddersford it's all in to win. Meanwhile behind him P3 Adam Greason, the FR20 Sim Racing driver, he's trying to make himself a late factor in that top 2 battle. He's a third 20 points behind, but has an advantage of his own there at the best part, 12 points over teammate Steve Hobbs, but they've been 22 points to Glenn Humberstone, who completes your top 5. Outside the top 5 based on result countback is Chris Francis here, Sim Racing UK, and we're waiting to see if France can pick up another win, given the fact he's been shown phenomenal pace all season. And then Alex Hiscox in P7 for Team Wales. He does have a qualifying ban in effect today, so he's going to be starting from the back and having to battle his way on through. These 20 points here at Sean Dobie, with Sean Cranny-Swash and Wayne Basson completing your top 10. We then have in P11 Cameron Smith, the privateer, who's only outside the top 10 based on a single point, with Alistair Hatcher a further 14 points behind. It's been a difficult season for the ATEC Tech crews across their 3 teams, but they're still in it and giving it everything they can to try and make the way up the order. And we can see just behind Jeremy Story there for Top Gear Sim Racing P13. 4 points clear DDD Villaming, with Mark Oliver completing your top 15. It's Jules Bounce in P16, and Bounce has had a difficult run arounds quite recently and looking for some better luck. with Richard White running P17 there, and he's 1 point clear of Paul Joseph Clist, with the Olympus Esports Titan driver continuing to build on the results and starting to show consistent top 10 finishes, and ahead of Aaron Trezor there by 3 points, with Steve Lathwell, Daniel Fritz and Craig Shield completing his standings, at Craig Shield on -3 points due to post-round penalties. But lastly, coming on to our team's championship standings, here we can see Olympus Esports Vanguard lead the way by a margin that has grown, if I do my maths correctly at this point, albeit I'm probably going to get it wrong here, and feel free to shout out if so. 156 points between the two teams ahead of Team Germany, and it does mean that right now for Olympus Esports Vanguard, they are, I do believe, within touching distance of crowning themselves championship winners today. All they need to do is take a couple of points and they will put the championship out of Team Germany's reach. In fact, it may be mathematically impossible for Team Germany to do so already, albeit we haven't had confirmation, but what we can confirm is that Olympus Esports Vanguard are the favourites and phenomenal favourites to wrap it up here today. Meanwhile, in P3, Olympus Esports Titan, they've fallen away from Team Germany. The gap now standing was a grand total of 45 points, and they're looking to try and make it a 1-2 with their sister Olympus Esports team. But they've got a way to go. Blackout Motorsport not too far behind them, P4, and the best part, 24 points clear for FTR Esports, who will wrap up the top 5. It's then UKSimRacing Abbott team in P6 at AI Race Series DCW Racing, with Effect Simulations falling to P8 for the first time this season, and they will continue to fall in the absence of Busby on circuit, albeit Empire Motorsport a further point behind and looking to jump into P8 tonight, and Apex Missers there in P10 on 26 points. Well, they'll feel safe from FR20 SimRacing, who are behind by 11 points in P11 in the best of the rest situation, and then we can see Somsport, DBR Movement Challenge, Clicks Racing, and ATEC Tech Racing completing your top 15, with Fix Alter Aberdare a further 2 points behind in P16, and continuing to gain little points here, little by little, and it's all incremental, albeit they've got a 3-point advantage over CS SimRacing UK, with ATEC Tech, 24 Hour Punty People, and DBR completing your top 20. And outside the top 20 by a single point is Tresla Racing, with Top Gear SimRacing behind based on result countback at P22, and it's Whiskey Runners Racing and Team Wales who wrap up the standings. Team Wales on -1 point due to post-round penalties. We're coming to our circuit for today then. Well, it's the Silverstone circuit, back in 2008, and a much faster layout compared to the modern layout, which was revised for the safety purposes and also to improve the spectator experience. But as our drivers take the trip back to 2008 and make their way around the Grand Prix circuit, located near the village of Silverstone in the Northamptonshire County in England, the United Kingdom. As we can see from the circuit map provided to us by iRacing.com, it's a fast and furious layout of the circuit with a lot of classic corners, and indeed some corners that we don't see anymore, but still classics in their own regard, such as Priory and also the Farm Straight and into Bridge. And as our drivers make their way around here as they charge down the start finish straight, the old start finish straight into Copse Corner at turn number 1, where it's going to be close there into the sweeping right-hander, while they make their way through the maggots into Beckett's combination at turns 2 through to 5, winding themselves down through the medium speed sweepers and then out of Chapel and on to the Hanger Straight. But as they head up towards Stowe Corner, reaching their maximum possible speeds as they head into turn number 7, it's all going to be about who is the bravest under braking and able to carry the speed round, while they drop into the Vale and charge into the club sequence of turns 8, 9 and 10. Exiting out of there, this is where we'll deviate to the 2000 layout effectively, while drivers making their way into Abbey and onwards towards the Farm Straight. The drop down underneath the bridge and up towards Priory they'll go, the sweeping right into left there, unsettling even the most stable of cars. And as they head into Brooklands and Luffield, it'll be 2 familiar corners to effectively wrap up the lap, albeit with a Kinker Woodcut at turn number 17 completing the lap there as they charged away on to another one. But as a quick reminder of the rules, in qualifying, a lone qualifying format shall be used, and drivers have 8 minutes to set their best possible time. The races shall commence by a standing start, as is the tradition of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, with the sprint race grid being set based on results of qualifying, and the feature race grid being a partial reverse grid based on results of the sprint, with the top 8 positions inverted. So the winner of the sprint race starts P8 on the grid, the 8th place finisher starts on pole, and everyone who finished further down, so 9th downwards, that's exactly where they start on the grid for our second race of the day. There are no pit stops expected in the race in terms of mandatory pit stops requirements, but we can tell you there's one fast repair available if a driver picks up damage, and they also may receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 15 or more instant points. That's enough rules, regulation. You're here for the racing. As we look back to circuit side, let's quickly take you through that schedule for tonight. Times in British Summer Time, that's BST, or Universal Coordinated Time +1 at UTC +1, and we can see in just under a minute's time we make it way into the qualifying session, 8 minutes in duration, after which we'll take a very quick breather before heading to the grid for our first race of the day. That'll be the round 13 sprint, 12 minutes in duration, and after that we'll take a 5-minute break with a return to the grid for just before what is 8:30 this evening for round number 14, the feature race there, 30 minutes. It's 2.5 times the length of the sprint, and tyre preservation is going to be key, but who's going to be able to modulate it successfully? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But as our drivers make their way on around here, well, we do look to a limited number of drivers out on circuit currently. including Dean Powell here as he gets in his final warm-up laps and getting himself all comfortably set, and the privateer in the number 24 looking to carry on that momentum that's been building his way as he has been starting to chew away at some top 10 finishes, and it's been great to see Powell rising up through the ranks as time has gone on. But as he heads on to the start-finish straight here, we won't see him put any more practice laps in now as the checker flag comes out in his final practice warm-up session. And well, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. Do let us know in the YouTube chat who you're cheering on as we do say hello to Vamos Speedy, also to Sean Cranley Swash, and also to Craig Tillotson, who wishes the best luck to the FR20 Sim Racing boys. Well, it is time for qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. 8 minutes, lone qualifying, which means our drivers all go to an isolated instance of the circuit. And, well, what better moment to introduce a new driver on the grid today. He's joining very late in the season, and I think dipping his toes in to see if he wants to take part in Season 8, and more on that in a week's time, what's coming in Season 8. But it's none other than the privateer in the number 17 here, and he'll be taking part in the gold class. He's been looking very fast all week in the practice sessions. It's Nicholas Nolder from Germany, and well, we look forward to seeing how he gets on, and potentially could he shake up the top end of the field right at the most pivotal time for the championship battlers of Thomas Cope and also Philipp Hammer. We'll have to wait and see, but I've been hearing a lot down the paddock about Nolder in the fact he's a very fast driver, a very competent driver in his own right, and while he considered to be a professional in all regards on and off the circuit, well, as he heads in to turn number 7 there and coming on through the right-hander, well, he'll be getting himself warmed up right now. And again, one of those big considerations in this qualifying session, and Nolder will be thinking this as well, is do you go for what is 2 warm-up laps and then go for a fast lap and sacrifice the amount of time you have available to get those fast laps on the board? With lap times around here spanning the best part will be almost close to 2 minutes, you can imagine and our drivers will have to be conscious of the fact that they will only have a limited number of laps available, because as soon as we hit 8 minutes on the qualifying session, qualifying immediately stops. There's no overtime available. That's your lot, and you go with the lap you've previously said, and our drivers will know they need to make the most of those laps. But as we do look for Matt Nolder to will be Adam Greaveson here. Well, Adam Greaveson picking up a small accolade from Canada last time out, as well as his great results, and that small accolade being he was one of 2 drivers to share the Driver of the Day award for last week at Circuit Charles Villeneuve, picking up 25% of the vote, and he was a winner in the silver class. And in the gold class, we did have Emil Koopmans, who also took the award, and he had 25% of the vote as well, as Koopmans there getting it slightly wrong, going in to what's turn number 15 there, collects the car back together in the gravel. That's not the way he'll want to start off qualifying, and I think echoing there with regards to the fact that things have not been looking too good in practice for the number 911 driver. And still, he'll be hoping that he can turn around a magic lap. And we have seen the Apex Misters drive pull off a lot of magic this season, particularly in the last 3 to 4 rounds, where he's really been battling hard for the podium spots. And the bad luck that has blighted him all season seems to have gone away. Well, hopefully it can stay away for now as he makes his way in to turn at number 1. Comes on through the fast right-hander of Cops Bend. And we'll ride on board with our drives for their next qualifying. That's when they've got the tyres fully up to temperature. And we'll give you a hard and fast lap here at the Silverstone 2008 Grand Prix circuit. But as he heads on down there through the sweeping section of Maggots into Beckett's, where you might be able to see some of the old billboards around the circuit, indeed denoting sponsors of older times. And well, indeed, perhaps they were simpler times back then when it came to motorsport, but at the same time as well, phenomenal times wherever you look at motorsport, whether it's now or back in the 40 years ago, etc. And well, here right now, our drivers will be trying to put in the best times they can in order to get themselves as far up the order as possible. But as we do look for Koopmans to fellow gold driver here, Danny Lee, and well, this man needs no introduction with his positivity as he heads his way in to a club from the Vale in to turns 8 through to 10, and right now going through the left into right chicane before bringing his way on out, and this corner being adjusted compared to its previous layout version, it now being a much sharper turn in turn number 10 rather than that more sweeping nature corner. And what as he heads up into Abbey here, onto the brakes he goes, deferring to left here, going up through the chicane layout rather than what is there the curved straight layout, and onto the farm straight, and you can see another major braking zone, and with that something that our drivers will try and look for in terms of overtaking opportunities as he heads under the bridge and now up the rise into Priory, a corner that's much missed around the world since it's been removed effectively, as he then rejoins with a Wellington straight with Igor Kos making the way in to the final couple of quarters. And well, Henry returns 15 and 16 right now. It is going to be Leah who sweeps his way on around. First laps are starting to go on the board, and Nolder setting the fastest lap, the provisional fastest lap of a 49.899, but will anybody be able to get close to him? We'll have to wait to see, as meanwhile Thomas Cope making his way on around, and we jump on board here with the championship leader for a flying lap. to head in towards Cox Bend and braking about 125 metres of corner apex. Nice early apex there as he keeps the throttle in and makes his way in fourth gear. Two wheels win the white lines as he heads down towards Maggots. Now bringing the car over to the right, before sweeping into left, flat out initially, then a dab of the brakes there as he goes into turn 3, and now harder onto the brakes he goes into 4, drops the gear and bringing the car immediately over to left before sweeping right here to go through Beckett's at turn number 5, third gear on the power and exit, going through Chapel and now flat out all the way down the hanger straight. Here he can breathe for a little bit as he's covered one of the hardest sequences around the world of corners, and now making his way up towards turn number 7. Onto the brakes, he gets ready to go into Stoke corner, coming all the way down the third gear, breaking 150 metres of corner apex, and back on the throttle as soon as he feels it's right to do so, as he now makes his way up towards Club corner, going from the valve onto the brakes here, all the way down to second gear, left into right, sweeping right-hander coming up, but he's got to be patient here. The car is going to want to gradually move outwards of understeer as he now builds up the throttle into third gear, up into fourth gear nice and early to give himself some extra rotation and confidence in the power of the car. Now getting ready to brake here, and as he goes on to the brakes, so Abbey coming down the gearbox once again, down into second gear, left into right, back to full throttle here as he clambers over the apex curb, onto the farm straight for a brief moment, under the bridge, and heading up towards Priory, lift off the throttle, hold it in fourth gear, and onto the brakes here very early, 140 metres of corner apex going through Priory, and next in the corner now third gear, onto the brakes, dropping it all the way down to second gear, nice and tight through turn 15, into 16 he goes, and well, you don't want to go out wide, you want to keep it nice and close, let the car take a V-shape approach as the road gradually rises and dips away, and on the power he goes here on corner exit. It's a smooth lap from Cope as he makes his way through Woodcock corner to complete the lap. Well, what's it going to be as he makes his way on around? It was very fast, but will it move further up the order? And it is a new fastest lap. It's a 48.856. Well, he does have time for one more lap, but I think he feels though he's done enough here as he's backed off into turn 1, and well, that is 5 tenths faster than what anybody else has been able to achieve. Next fastest man is Patrik Thomsen, as meanwhile we do look to Dean Powell making his way on through, and Will Powell here currently P7, as said she's gone to P5, and meanwhile in the silver class, how are our drivers doing there? Well, currently it's an FR20 sim racing pole sitter in the form of Steve Hobbs, P10 overall, but for him it's a pole position, albeit only by a tenth at the moment, well 900ths to be a bit more exact, versus Chris Eddersford, and both of them here are trying to push a little bit harder. In fact, they're practically identical in terms of where they are on the circuit in their respective qualifying sessions right now. They are both going all in here. Well, for Eddersford, he needs every point he can get from the race today. As we said, Eddersford's mindset is currently it's either win or the championship is over, and therefore he'll want to be on pole for the simple reason he'll want that chance to run away with the lead at the start of the race. But I suspect Hobbs here is going to have something to say about that, as we do look to Chris Eddersford meanwhile, and running a new livery today. Indeed, the UKSimRacing team bringing a new livery to the circuit, and as he heads on down underneath what is a bridge corner there and onwards towards Priory, well, right now we can tell you that Eddersford is improving quite significantly on his lap. Meanwhile, Steve Hobbs has also improved in the middle sector, so therefore both drivers here are on improving laps, but who's going to be the one who finds the time? They will squeeze this lap in. Meanwhile, elsewhere on circuit right now, I can see that Jack Atkinson has set the fastest subsector 2, which is the run through Maggots and Beckett into what is the hanger straight. But as Eddersfield clears the final corner here, what will it be for the silver second place driver in the championship right now? He crosses the line, and is it going to be enough for Eddersford? It's not enough to improve, so Hobbs will take that silver pole position. But interestingly, we do have the absence of Jeremy DeBova today by looks of things, and with that, that is going to open the door up for Chris Eddersford. There's no doubt about it. As meanwhile, Parker across the line moves to P4 there, 6 tenths off of pole, and nobody can get close to Cope's time. Will Cope absolutely delivering, and that is qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. Well, goodness me, it's time for us to head to the grid. So as we make the way to the grid for round number 13, the sprint here at Silverstone in Season 7 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, this is how they line up. Thomas Cope takes pole position for Olympus Esports Vanguard, joined on the front row by teammate Patrik Thomsen. It's then Nicholas Nold on his debut, starting P3, the privateer, joined on the second row of the grid by iRacing DCW Races James Parker, and then Danny Lee and Daniel Sudgy make up your third row there, the privateer ahead of the Olympus Esports Titan driver. On row number 4, we have Dean Powell, one of his best qualifying performances of the season. The privateer being joined by Jack Atkinson, who starts P8 for UKSimRacing admin team. And then we do have starting on our 5th row to complete the top 10. It's the top 10 of all golds, Emil Koopmans at Apex Missers and Empire Motorsports Nathan Foster. It's then your silver pole sitter on row number 6, P11, Steve Hobbs at FR20 Sim Racing, joined on that row by Chris Eddersford of UKSimRacing admin team. And then behind them on row number 7 is Sean Cranny-Sosh for 24 Hour Punty People and Adel Greason for FR20 Sim Racing, followed up by Khalid Ramadan van for Somsport, has had his weakest qualifying session of the season. Joined on that row by Glenn Humberstone, starts P16 for ATEC Racing. Now on row at number 9, it's Simon Bamber for UKSimRacing admin team. Joined by Clicks Racing Sean Doby, with Alistair Hatcher and Paul Joseph Cliss for ATEC and Olympus Esports Titan, completing your top 20. Meanwhile, with a qualifying ban in effect, Alex Hiscock starting at P21 there on the 11th row of the grid, and joined on that final row by Roxanne Marshall, we do believe the 24-hour Punty People driver, and we have Cameron Smith starting on the final row of the grid, starting P23 on the 12th row. And well, how will he go from the back of the field? We know he's a very early gainer in races. He can be very tactical in the way he gains places. Well, the field is almost set, ladies and gentlemen, and well, as we can see there, everybody in position or thereabouts. It's an absolute rampacked virtual stadium here, and as our drivers get ready to go, well, now we await the lights. One red light, two red lights, three red lights, four red lights, five red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our first race of the day here at Silverstone as Thomas Cope gets a good launch off the line, but Thompson's much better. Meanwhile, trying to look into the middle of the turn is Nolda as they head into Cop's corner. And you can see that Nolda having to back off as they make the way for the opening right-hander. Oh, the field sweeping the way through. Contact behind. We've got multiple silver drives off the road there. Sean Cranny-Swash has picked his way through to the lead of the silver class as it's getting very feisty in the mid-pack with Simon Bamber and Chris Edison side by side here as they make the way into Maggots and Beckett's, but they seem to be able to negotiate it around one another as Edison takes the position of a Bamber. Understandably, they won't want to step in the way of what is his teammates' championship chances. But as all the drives make the way now through Beckett's, you can see it has been quite the scramble at the start of the race. We'll take a look back at what exactly happened off the race start in due order, but definitely an unexpected instant there going through turn of 1 into 2. But now everyone's able to negotiate it and calm down immediately. But as they make the way up into turn number 7 here, we've got a move coming up from Cameron Smith. 2-for-1 special there from the 23 drum. We said watch out for him as he made the move, but he's got a bit deep on the exit, and as a result he's going to let Glenn Humberstone back and through, and Khaled Ramadan also trying to get into the hunt here as they all go onto the brakes down into turn number 8, and with Cameron Smith trying to keep everyone at bay, trying to hold up the field there. He gets Alex Hiscox and Steve Hobbs to squab over position, and Steve Hobbs losing out the most on this open lap so far as they come through the right-hander. Meanwhile, it's been an instant as Patrik Thomsen has gone around 3 wide as they come out of turn number 10, car to the wall, and I believe that is Nathan Foster who's gone wayward, and Foster in a car he's been able to catch just in time, but it's a nightmare start for the Empire Motorsport driver. But meanwhile, looking back here inside the top 10, this is Jack Atkinson with Emerald Koopmans battling around his inside, and as they make the way on through Priory and onwards towards the left into right turns 15 and 16, Koopmans on the inside, but Atkinson will try and come back now on return onto the inside of the final major corner. But can he find it as Koopmans goes a little bit deep there, and I think Koopmans will be feeling as though he can gain it back on a drag race up towards turn 1. Well, so they go, contact between Atkinson and Koopmans, and Atkinson sent to the wall, and I think there was a misjudgment of the positioning of the cars between the two drivers, and it's been a disaster for Atkinson, and the UKSimRacing admin team definitely having a shaky start to this race on home soil. But after 1 lap, it's Thomas Cope who leads, and he is ahead right now by what is there 8 tenths ahead of Nicholas Nolde at P2. We now have James Parker P3 ahead of Daniel Sedgley P4, followed up by Danny Lee at P5, and then we do have behind them Dean Powell P6, followed up by Emerald Koopmans P7. They're all gold drives. Then your silver leader is Sean Cranny-Swash P8. We had a Greason behind P9, Alistair Hatcher P10. Then we have Sean Doe best rest P11 with Chris Edison very quickly hunting him down. But as they make the way on down the first major straight, we ride on board here with Chris Edison, the UKSimRacing admin team driver, absolutely on a mission right now to try and come back after what has been a frustrating start. And we can see that in the fact as we show you the gains of our drivers overall. Patrik Thomsen, the biggest loser of them all, dropping 15 places since the start of P2. Meanwhile, the biggest gainer, Alistair Hatcher, has gained 9 places overall. He's moved from P19 to P10 in the space of only 1 lap. Well, some have gained, some have lost out, but right now they're all going to be looking to consolidate their ground or alternatively recover it, depending on their perspective. And Edisford here can't find his way past Dobie right now, and the Scotsman definitely looking strong there in the Clicks Racing machine in front as he tries to harry Alistair Hatcher as they make the way into Abbey once more. Well, onto the brakes they go here, line astern right now. Nobody really able to find their way on through as they come out and onto the reform straight. But meanwhile, behind him, we can see Patrik Thomsen breaks away from Humberstone and Cameron Smith as he heads up the hill, and as he rolls his way into Priory Corner. Well, he'll feel as though currently things will be a little bit more secure compared to how they were on the open lap. But meanwhile, going wrong there, Cameron Smith losing the rear of the car, going through Priory, catches it before he gets embedded in the gravel. He gets it back up to speed onto the tarmac, but a nightmare moment there for the Scotsman, and well, all those early gains for nothing now as he tries to recuperate and push on. But meanwhile, battling for P4, this is essentially versus Lee. It's going to be Lee on the inside of Scott's pen. They go too wide into the corner. It's going to be Lee who gains the momentum coming out of it. A nice move there from Danny, a classic move, but can essentially come back as they head into turn number 2. He's thinking about it, but what I think he's also thinking is, I can get the road going down the hanger straight instead. I don't need to force the move right now and cost us both time to park in front as they come into turn number 5. And coming on down into Beckett's and then Chapel. Well, right now it's going to be Seji who's 3 tenths back and gets the better exit out the corner, albeit Lee right now absolutely flying. Plus also he's got the tower Parker in front. It's a distant tow, but it'll keep it safe. And I think right now it's going to be Seji who's made to wait once again. Behind them, meanwhile, we do have a battle freeway fight here. A little bit of a rub there between Ramadan and Thomsen as they give each other space 3 wide. They're both looking on the inside of Bamber, who's on the very right. You'll pitch it in the light blue machine. And Khalid Ramadan tries to sneak out on the inside of Thomsen, but Thomsen says, no, I'm going for the Moses manoeuvre, and he makes it count as they head down towards turn number 8. And onto the brakes they get ready to go here. And with Thomsen right now not wasting any time, he knows he's got front row pace. Off the road goes Sean Dobie. He tries to rejoin on the grass, albeit he's going to rejoin quite a way away and therefore not interfere in this battle. But as they make the way on through Abbey and up towards the next braking zone where it's going, with that into Abbey now from club, we should say. And onto the brakes they go, everybody calming down to a degree, albeit we can see here Nathan Foster made his way up the inside of Sean Dobie for P16 overall. So Foster gaining another place here and well trying to push on towards the gold group in front of him and eager to try and get inside the gold top 10. Whilst we do have a bit of a moment, ladies and gents, we are going to take a look back at what happened at the start of the race, and particularly in that midfield. And here is your replay of the race start, and in particular we focus on Chris Edisford here as he got underway, because he did seem to be right in the heart of all that battling, and Steve Hobbs alongside him. So you see Hobbs actually got a phenomenal start off the line, but immediately started to battle with the Empire Motorsport car there of Foster. And as they made the way into turn number 1, it's going to Constantina together. Somebody locks up, and Will Edisford in the end finds himself in contact with the FR20 Sim Racing car of Hobbs, but not too much damage. So in fact that it did seem as though Hobbs really losing out the most of everybody. And we take another look back at what happened there for Steve Hobbs as he made his way into the corner. Alternative camera angle, and will just squeeze there between Adam Greason and Foster. Had nowhere to go. 3 does not go to 2, does not go into 1 at the opening corner, and that's exactly what happened to Hobbs. And well, he'll definitely have felt that one, as then we had an instant for Patrik Thomsen later in the lap. And what exactly happened to Olympus Esports Vanguard driver? Well, just the rear of the car letting go and everybody negotiating their way around. That could have been a major incident, but it wasn't to be. And Patrik Thomsen there will be thanking his lucky stars, as will the drivers around him, as he now had to get back up to speed. But then we did see what was, I believe, Nathan Foster being sent wide there as 3 all battling for the space, with Thomsen rejoining. I think the 3 drivers, they're all eager to try and avoid contact with Thomsen's car that's going slowly, but still that was the instance on the opening lap. And as we return to your live pictures now, ladies and gentlemen, we are halfway into this race, still the best part of 5 minutes plus the final lap to go. And well, we look back to the front of the field, and in the absence of Philipp Hammer here today, it does mean that Cope right now is definitely on course here to notch in what will be not just the victory, but also with it the near guarantee of being the season 7 gold champion. He will only need some points out of what will be the feature race, and it will all be his. But meanwhile, we do look back here to Patrik Thomsen, who's just found his way up the inside of Chris Edisford, going through bridge and into Priory they go. And as they do, we show you the class standings right now, because that's where the points are in the classes. It's not in the overall positions. The only thing you're looking out for in the overall is who finishes inside the top 8 to be eligible for that reverse grid, and will P8 be in the desirable position for any silver class driver, of which Sean Cranny-Swash currently holds that accolade as silver leader as well. So Sean Cranny-Swash trying to gain what will be effective reverse pole position, but he does have Adam Greason only 4 tenths behind him and closing very fast. Speaking of Adam Greason, here is the FR20 Sim Racing driver right now, who I think will feel a little bit worried about the contact with his teammate on the open lap, but he's got to put that aside for him right now and be focused on what's ahead. But you never want to have contact with your own teammate at the best of times, as we are heading. There's been an incident for Alex Hiscox further down the road. He's had to be towed to the pits. We'll try and get you a replay of that when we can, but Greason right now chasing after the 24-hour Punty People car of Cranny-Swash as they make the way on down the hanger straight once again here. And Will Greason getting closer and closer with every corner turn. As meanwhile, a bit further back, we can see Alistair Hatcher and Patrik Thomsen battling side by side into turn number 7. Thomsen the inside of Hatcher here. Hatcher on the right of your picture, and he's not going to fight this. He's running for a podium in the silver class. He's not a gold class driver compared to Thomsen, and therefore he'll likely let it go and focus on what he needs to do, as he has got Chris Edison barreling up behind him. Speaking of which, Khalid Ramadan making a move on the inside there versus Edison. Edison not really having a response, but but he does have Glenn Humberstone behind him. And well, you may remember Glenn Humberstone coming on incredibly strongly at Canada only a week ago. But as they make the way out of what is their turn number 10, I'm hearing there's been an instant for Nicholas Nold in the run out of what is the club chicane onto the farm straight. We'll try and find out. In fact, that is Noel just literally pointing towards the barrier there. I'm not quite sure what's happened to the privateer, but it is a toe to the pit. It's a disaster for Noel, and with that, it's going to promote drives up the field, and suddenly Sean Credit's watching out. Greason are battling for the front row of the silver finishers at the top, but also the front row of what will be the reverse grid if they finish P7, P8 respectively, or the other way round. But meanwhile here, Edison battling side by side with Humberstone coming on through turns 15 and 16. Humberstone out on the inside, and that's where you want to be on the final corner, the final major corner that is, as now you can plant the throttle and go charging on out. Edison there hurried to yield as they make the way on to another lap, going on to lap number 6 now with 2.5 minutes to go, plus that final lap, so we will squeeze another 2 laps in before all is said and done in this sprint race. And right now Edison a race going backwards, whereas many of his peers it's going forward, and he's not going to be happy one bit about this for the simple reason what could have been a huge haul of points today in the absence of Jerry DeBova, and really set up a battle on level points going into the season finale, or in fact given an advantage going into the season finale, is now looking as though it's going not to work out as much as you'd like it to, as he goes a bit deep there coming on through Beckett. And well, with that he's now got his teammate Simon Bamber is getting close. I think Bamber will hold position, but Bamber does have Foster closing, and Foster is battling Bamber for P9 in the gold class here today as they make the way on through. And in fact, there you're going to see Edison getting the better run. He's going to look around the outside here versus Humberstone as he goes all the way around the outside at Stowe. And can he hold on to the speed here? Well, it does look as though he will be able to as Edison comes on down, but now it's going to be Humberstone switching back to the inside, but he can't quite find it as we ride aboard and look back here. Well, we do get a faceful there of the front bumper of Humberstone's car as they make the way on through. Even closer they go as they make the way on through turn number 9 and 10, and well, Edison right now so under pressure as they make the way up towards the Abbey chicane, and well, Edison having to really dig in deep here as they roll their way through left into right, and Humberstone absolutely unleashed onto Edison today. The A-Tech Racing team driver eager to make as much progress as he can and coming strong in the late half of this season, but as they make the way up into primary corner, you can see that Bamber trying to get involved, and Edison will be hoping that Bamber can interfere, but it's going to be a late dive to the inside of turn 15 from West Humberstone, but he can't pull it off, and Bamber's going to go around the outside as a result, take the inside of the next corner, and this is going to force Humberstone wide. And with it, look at Nathan Foster trying to come and through as they make the way out of the corner, but Bamber going slowly off the corner, not able to get the power down, and it's going to be Foster who tries to sweep his way around the outside of Woodcock as they head onto the final lap here in our first race of the day. 7 laps will be turned, and as they make the way into Cox Bend, side by side, Bamber versus Foster, but Bamber's got the inside. Surely he'll have this settled unless he goes overly deep and enables a cutback for Foster, but Foster not prepared for the cutback there, and they stay as they were as they make the way up towards turn number 2. Now, whilst we do have a brief moment, we are going to take a look back at what happened to Nicholas Nold on lap number 5, and here is the quick replay making his way in towards the Abbey chicane and onto the brakes he went, and the car on the grass then just going straight on. That looks like a steering failure there for Nold, as he did start to hit the brakes, but the car just simply straight lining on, and in the end not responding at all. A disastrous moment there for the German driver. But meanwhile, return to your live pictures, ladies and gentlemen, as our drivers now make the way towards the second half of this final lap, and will everything calm down to a degree in the battle to be inside the top 10. But meanwhile, an update on the battle for P2. Here is James Parker, 2-time UKSimRacing Porsche Cup champion, of course, one of 2-time championship winners on the grid, with Philipp Hammer being at the other, and the iRacing Series JCW racing driver under pressure from Lee as they make the way through Bridge Corner and out towards Priory. And right now, Parker trying to come up with his best result of the season, which is second place. I do believe, in fact, his first podium of the season. We've yet to see him finish on the overall podium and the gold class podium with it. But meanwhile, one drive right now, as he makes it out the final corner, he'll know he's only one more race result away from destiny. Thomas Cope comes on through to take the win for Olympus Esports Vanguard, and the gold class driver here on absolutely shining form. It will then be P2 to James Parker for his best result of the season ahead of Danny Lee, Daniel Seji at P4, and then it will be Dean Powell comes across the line P5 there a bit further back ahead of Elmo Koopmans, and then Patrik Thomsen comes on through for P7. But what about Sean Cradley swatches and drag race to the line, and the Canadian from 24 Hour Punty People takes the win here in the sprint race today at Silverstone, and he will be joined behind by Adam Greason, who finishes P9, and it'll be Alistair Hatch who completes your top 10 there, and Sean Cranny-Swash will take that reverse grid pole for the purposes of our feature race, with Alistair Hatcher in P10 rounding off the silver class podium of Swash, Greason and Hatcher. And then we do have a couple more finishers to come, including Paul Joseph, who will be our final finisher of this race. He'll be P9 in class, P20 overall, as he comes across the line there. And, well, a challenging race for some, but we've had one race down. We've got one more to go. But speaking of one more race to go, before we get to that, let's remind you of those race results for our first race of the day, and here they are. So as we can see, after 12 minutes of racing in round 13 of the UK SimRacing Porsche Cup Season 7 here today at the 2008 Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit in the United Kingdom, Thomas Cope taking the win for Olympus Esports Vanguard by 4 seconds over James Parker. And with the number 64 driver absolutely unstoppable form, with Parker there coming on home for his best result of the season, runner-up, and the AR Race Series DCW Racing driver, although he's finally made it to the podium and was the 13th time of trying this season. Danny Lee P3 there, the privateer, another podium finish and another great haul of points ahead of Olympus Esports Titans Daniel Sedgey, who finished P4 and wasn't quite on the pace to catch up to the podium, but he managed to stay 3 seconds clear of Dean Powell with a great performance. And in fact, I think that's Dean Powell's first top 5 of the season as well in the number 24 privateer machine, and he held an 8/10 of a second gap to Elmore Koopmans, who despite his struggles in qualifying was able to hold on to a place inside the top 10 overall for Apex Missers. We then see a further, 3 seconds back, Patrik Thomsen at P7 for Olympus Esports Vanguard, with then Sean Cranny-Swash taking the pole position for our final race of the day with the silver class win, and more importantly for the 24-hour Punty People driver, the P8 there, which entitles him to a reverse grid pole, and he managed to finish ahead of Adam Greason, the runner-up in the silver class for FR20 Sim Racing, who was only 2 tenths off at the line, and Alistair Hatcher P10 overall there for A-Tech Tech, a return to the silver class podium, and completed the podium of Cranny-Swash, Greason and Hatcher. Khalid Ramadan, Bester SP11 there for Somsport, ahead of Chris Eddersford, and the UKSimRacing admin team will be absolutely gutted with how the first race of the day has turned now, but still, he can still turn that frown upside down and turn it into a smile if he does bounce back strongly in our second race of the day, with the UKSimRacing admin team driver being followed up by Glenn Humberstone for A-Tech Racing, who, as much as he tried to huff and puff his way through, could not find a way to get the move done on Eddersford, and part of that being due to a little bit of interference as Simon Bamber looked to get on through the other UKSimRacing admin team driver, with that growing pressure from Nathan Foster, the Empire Motorsport driver being able to hold on there to P15, with Jack Atkinson not too far away for UKSimRacing admin team, and then the privateer Cameron Smith at P17. Behind him, Sean Doe for Clicks Racing, turning things around to finish P18 for Clicks Racing, ahead of Steve Hobbs for FR20 Sim Racing. And you do have to feel for Steve Hobbs in the fact it looked as though it was going to be a golden ticket to the winning class today, but not to be. Now he's got to do it the hard way in the second race, with Paul Joseph P at 20 there for Olympus Esports Titan. Nicholas Nolder retiring with 2 laps to go. He will be classified as a finisher of the privateer P21 on his debut when he was in runner-up place. There's no doubt about it. And then Alex Hiscox and Roxanne Marshall completed the standings there, with the Team Wells driver retiring 3 laps in the end and will be classified as a finisher as he completed over half the race distance, and Roxanne Marshall not able to make it to the grid for 24-hour Punty People. But we've still got one more race to come, ladies and gentlemen, and well, it's coming up very shortly, in just under 2 minutes time. And we just like to take a moment to remind you that if you have been enjoying the racing and perhaps you want to support UK Sim Racing beyond essentially just subscribing to the YouTube channel, well, did you know there is a way to do so via our affiliates? For we at UK Sim Racing are affiliated with multiple sim racing companies and also real world motorsport companies, including Demon Tweaks, SRC Driver Academy, and also Amazon. And if you do head to our website, which you see on the screen, there's a link to our Discord in the top right of the screen, and if you click on that, there's 2 good reasons to join our Discord. The first one is because if you ever want to race in any of our series or our one-off special events, you need to be a member of the Discord. It's a mandatory requirement. And secondly, because only available on the UK Sim Racing Discord are a number of discount codes provided by our affiliates, especially for you. And if you use one of those affiliate codes as part of your purchase, well, then you get a discount as a consumer, which is a win for you, but it's also a win for the UK Sim Racing community, because we are a non-profit organisation consideration, and that means every penny from our affiliate earnings goes back into the community to fund future series, including the upcoming Season 12 of the GT3 League. We've also got another season of the Porsche Cup planned, and we've got plenty more planned for the remainder of 2023 and onwards. So do remember, a little purchase will go a long way in supporting UKSimRacing, but after a phenomenal first race of the day, well, I think now some drivers will be looking to turn up the wig and make it an even better one in the second race of the day, as we do look there to Sean Dobie making his way on around. And as he does here, he's not too far away from going at green flag racing once again. And I think we'll be looking to try and build upon that growing pace that the Clicks Racing driver had, but an unfortunate instant cost him quite dear. But he will also know there's plenty to look forward to with only 20 seconds on the clock. His head will be in the right place, the spirit with it, and now he's just got to get himself set and ready to charge on. And we'd also like to take a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, to let you know that we are currently taking feedback with regards to our leagues, and that feedback's not just for our drivers to provide, but also you as a spectator in the YouTube chat. And indeed, you can see a link just posted in the YouTube chat if you do want to give feedback on our upcoming season of leagues. And we have got plans to run potentially a GTP GT3 multi-class league, and also looking at running a HPD GT1 league. So let us know what you're excited to potentially see in a future UK Sim Racing league. But right now, the future here is now in the form of our second race of the day, and here's how they line up for the round 14 feature race at Silverstone's Grand Prix circuit. It is Sean Cranny Swash who takes reverse grid pole for 24-hour punty people. The silver pole sits there starting on the front row of the grid, and he is joined by Olympus Esports Vanguard's Patrik Thomsen, who starts P2, your gold pole sitter. It's Emil Koopmans and Dean Powell who line up on row at number 2. They'll be followed up by Daniel Sedgey and Danny Lee on row number 3. And to complete the top 8, James Parker and Thomas Cope. And Thomas Cope, he just needs to finish this race and get 1 or 2 points, and he will be your gold champion with a round to spare. Adam Greason and Alistair Hatcher start on an all-silver row at number 5, completing your top 10, with Khaled Ramadan and Chris Edison on row number 6. Row 7 goes to Glenn Humberstone and Simon Bamber, with Nathan Foster and Jack Atkinson behind. It's Cameron Smith and Sean Dobie on the 9th row. Steve Hobbs and Paul Joseph Cliff complete your top 20 on row number 10. And then starting on the final full row of the grid, it's Nicholas Nolder and Alex Hiscox. And well, I believe Roxanne Marshall P23. But the grid is set, ladies and gentlemen. We await the light. It's 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for our second race of the day. It's a good start for Patrik Thomsen. Sean Cranny Swash finds a box of neutrals as they make their way up towards turn number 1. He's on the left of your picture. Meanwhile, Thompson and Cooper go around the outside. They all charge their way through, and as they do, everybody right now, itching for early ground into Cops Bend, but you've got to be wary of how tight it is on the apex. And as they make their way up towards turn number 2, Thomas Cope already gaining 2 places as they make their way into the charges and Maggots into Beckett. But sweeping the way on down right now, we can see there, Cope and Sedgey go side by side. It's Sedgey onto the grass there as he's taking a bit too much speed, rejoins safely there as they all cautiously make their way up towards Beckett's corner. But meanwhile, James Parker goes a little bit deep, and that's going to be Adam Greason who sweeps his way around the outside. And Greason having a phenomenal start to this race. The silver class driver is up into P6 from P9 on the grid, and he is hunting down Sean Cranny Swash here. He wants another taste of the winner's champagne. Well, as they make their way into turn number 7, everybody now nose to tail, and as they roll off the corner of turn number 7 up towards 8 they go. Well, right now it's also Kelly Ramadan who's cut close behind, but Parker on the offensive in return versus Greason. Up the inside he goes, side by side here. And Greaveson's saying, no, you're not going to pass me. I'm going to stick my foot here and defend hard. And as they make their way through turns 9 and 10, you can understand why Greason wants to make some momentum. But as they come out to the right hand here, you've got a huge cluster of cars out, all ganging up behind, including Daniel Sedgey looking for the move on Danny Lee. He can't quite find it as Lee holds him off. And meanwhile, behind Nathan Foster also getting involved here. So these drivers right now all in the long train, and that train being created by Adam Greason as they make their way down the farm straight and onto bridge. As they come through the right hander and uphill they go into Priory, a corner that's going to catch out many on these opening laps due to cold tyres and cold brakes, where you can see they're coming through the sweeping left hander, everybody making it safely on through. But we do ride on board with Daniel Sedgey as he makes his way on through the final 2 major corners of this opening lap. And well, we are hearing that Sean Cranny Swash and Thomas Coe battling side by side, coming out of turn 16 onto the start finish straight. But meanwhile, Sedgey takes us around to complete our first lap of race here. Lap number 2 awaits, as he powers his way back up the gearbox here. Meanwhile, from them we do look up to Cope versus Cranny Swash, as it's going to be Cope on the inside this time, moves up into P4, but everybody else stays to the tune of where they are. So after 1 lap lap of race. It's Patrik Thomsen who leads by 1.1 second margin over Emil Cooper's P2. It's Dean Powell P3 with Thomas Coates P4. Then it's your silver leader of Sean Craddy Swash P5. He has a half a second advantage over Adam Greason, the silver second place driver P6, and a James Parker P7, Kelly Ramadan P8, Danny Lee P9, and Daniel Suji P10 with Nathan Foster, Bester P11. But as they make the way on down the hanger straight here for the second time of asking, more moves potentially playing out between our drivers now, as we do see Parker going very aggressive versus Greason every time. He's got what is their Stop Sports Kelly Ramadan, who goes round the outside on a very tight central line. Well, there, I can't quite believe my eyes. The Stop Sport driver absolutely pinning Parker to the apex. And as they make the way down towards the braking zone here, where it's going to be 2-3 wide behind as well. As you can see there, Lee battling with what is, I do believe, Sedgley, and 2 by 2 they come on through. What is Club on towards Abbey they go, and will Ramadan around the outside. He will get the move done versus Parker. As a little bit of run wide there from what Nathan Foster as he collects the car back together. Meanwhile, Jack Atkinson comes up through, but Ramadan now having to defend on the inside into the Abbey chicane versus Parker as they make the way from left into right. Nose to tail, they make the way to bridge, and as they head up the rise, right now, Ramadan under huge pressure. As you can see, Lee going all in there under braking versus Parker into the left-hander of Priory. Gets it done, and Danny Lee, the opportunist as ever, seizes the day, and with it now makes his way up another place. But he's got Parker coming back at him, and Parker not giving in here. He's had the taste of one podium, he wants more. As they make the way out of the corner and on towards Woodcourt here, heading out towards another lap they go. Fastest lap of the race to Patrik Thomsen of 49.992. He's absolutely pushing the charge here, but meanwhile, as we do look to Lee versus Parker, it's going to be Parker on the inside. Lee there rubbing paint as they come through the right hander, and behind Sedgley also still looking for the move. I think Sedgley here thinking, can he go between the two of them? Well, that will be very brave at the best of times through Copse, let alone going maggots into Beckett's, but they cover down here, and Lee right now does take the position off of Parker, and with it Sedgley looking around the outside to the inside now, going into Beckett's bend. He comes through the right hand and moves up to P9. Simon Bamber just behind, and Parker falling back now, and it does look as though the momentum is going against the Briton as they head on down the hanger straight here, and will Sedgley right now powering his way on through, but he's got Parker trying to come back at him here, and with also Bamber in the mix, and Bamber taking a bit of a snipe at what is the back of Parker's car as they make the way into turn number 7 and figure out how he can get involved. But it is a phenomenal start from the drivers as they make the way on down, and as things have settled, we'll show you those gains, and what you can say that in terms of the relative gains and losses, not as many dramatic gains or losses this time around. The biggest losers of the race have been Chris Edison and Glenn Humberstone, are both down P20, P21 respectively, and I do believe we are going to get a replay of what happened to them very shortly, but they've definitely lost out the most of everyone, and the biggest gainers right now, Jack Atkinson in P12 and also Khalid Ramadan and Thomas Cope, with Cope in P4 and where's Ramadan up into P7 and still making progress, but we continue to focus here on the battle for Sedgley versus Parker, and this is a P9 in the gold class, without his P7 in the gold class, P9 overall. We should correct ourselves, and as they make the way into Priory corner, well right now these two not giving any quarter, absolutely going for it, it must be said, but as they make the way towards the end of another lap, I wonder whether the focus now will turn to tyres as Bamber's in the middle of the road, their car's gone round, and as he just sits there and lets the field come on through, a little bit of a moment there for what was Sean Doby as he tries to find a way past Paul Joseph Cliffs, who backed off there, conscious of the car in the middle of the road, and it's going to cost him for C-Sports Titan drive with that caution. He's going to give what is Stobie the opportunity to get on the inside for Woodcock corner. They battle their way up towards turn number 1, but Cliffs is not letting this go as they head into the right hand. He tucks back in behind Alex Hiscock's there as well as the wonderful Sunset Retro Rave car from what is the Team Wales group making his way up towards turn number 2 in hot pursuit. He's going to look for the move here, can't quite find it as they come down to the braking zone, so Cliffs is going to lose one place in the silver class, drops down to P7 silver, but can he now hold on versus Hiscock? So I think he's definitely going all in here to do so, but has he got enough in the tank to be able to do it? As meanwhile, we see the drivers here continue to battle. We've also had Thomas Cope find his way past Dean Powell. We will get a replay of that when we can, ladies and gentlemen, but right now we will very shortly have a replay of what happened to Chris Edison on the opening lap. But before that, Sedgley under pressure from Lee. And Lee looking on the inside. This is a P6 in the gold class as they go side by side into what is the club order, the club chicane, and as they make the way out, we're heading up towards Abbey now, and Sedgley there holding off the privateer once again, albeit the pressure continuing to build as they make the way down towards the next braking zone. We say hello in the chat there to Battle86 and also at Jamie Story. Well, it's not Jamie Story, my apologies, it's Jeremy Story there. Let's get the name right, let's do it fair and right, and both cheered on FR20 Sim Racing, and as I try to make the way on around here, particularly getting behind behind Adam Greason. Currently he's trying to find his way past Sean Cranny Swash for the lead of the silver class. Will they make their way on through Priory? And Sergi going a bit deep there. Lee's going to take a look on the inside as a result, and he goes all in, decides to gamble the chips and let them fall where they may. And as he comes through left into right, Sergi says Wolf 2 can play at this game, and he puts himself right back in there as they make the way through Luffield Bend, and as they head on towards what got caught a little bit of wobble there from Sergi, a bit of power oversteer, and will very easy to do given the way the car drops off of a rise on the apex of Luffield, and as they make the way through, we've gotten on to another lap. Now you've got Parker looking around the outside as Lee is clear for the time being. Onto the brakes they go for Cops Bend, and Sergi here now between a rock of hard plays. He wants to try and battle his way past the hard plays of what is their lead, but he's got a rock of a force coming up behind him, and that is Parker, who's looking to try and get back into the fight. But as they make their way through turns 2, 3, 4, 5 and up towards 6 they go via Chapel. It is going to be a nip and tuck between these guys, but meanwhile we do have an opportunity to take a look back at what happened to Chris Edison at the start of the race, albeit we hold that thought there for a brief moment with what is Sergi now looking around the outside to inside versus Lee, who gets it wrong, coming out of Beckett's and on towards Chapel. As they make their way down the hanger straight, it's going to be Parker in the middle. It's 3 wide as they go into braking. Lee goes very late on the brakes on the outside. Sergi tight on the inside. Parker cuts it back to tuck in behind Sergi, but I think Lee here is going to get the defense done as they make their way into the braking zone once again for Willys Club corner, and as they come through the left into right, Lee right now absolutely digging in and refusing to give up as they make their way through turns 9 and 10, and well, now it gives us a brief breather to take a look back at what happened on the open lap for Chris Edisford. Well, this was into turns 2 and 3, I do believe. So going into Maggots and contact there with the car of, I do believe that was getting the Humberstone. So the two of them going around together in very short notice. And, well, both of them eager to take the space. And then only one could take the space. And, well, neither of them being allowed to take it. And, well, that is what happened to the two drivers who finished P4, P5 respectively in the silver class in our first race of the day. And it definitely is becoming a nightmare day for Chris Edisford, who right now all the potential gains he could make versus Jeremy Debova. Well, Debova will be going into the final round with a 0 score against his name effectively. But Edison will know he's not really going to gain much ground from today. Indeed, today could be his weakest pair of results, and if so, that will mean, therefore, he's got to try and improve by 9 points over Debova, and really, his fate, or his championship campaign, lies in the hands of Jeremy Debova having a disastrous day at Suzuka, and that's not where you want to be as a championship contender, where you need to have luck on your side and have your rival get it all wrong on the day. But meanwhile, as we're looking at live pictures once again, we do look up to Emil Koopmans here, currently P2. He's got Thomas Cope chasing him down, and Koopmans right now, we've yet to see Koopmans finish on the podium this season, and well, I think he'll be very eager to try and hold on. Keep in mind, Dean Powell's also closed up here. We're only 10 minutes into this race. We've still got another 20 minutes plus the final lap to go, so therefore this now does start to move into the more balanced phase, where it's less about the outright pace, it's just as much about preserving the car. But one thing we do know is that the reason why Cope is your championship leader and right now on course to become your gold champion, should things finish as they currently stand, is because of his ability to bounce outright pace, absolutely savage pace at that, with tyre conservation and car preservation. And as they make the way out of Club and up towards Abbey, Cope looks on the inside here, he's had the better run, all in the brakes, and well, I think he's going to pick up another place here unless Koopmans can run into the inside. He can indeed, in fact it's going to be side by side as they make the way into the farm straight, but look at Cope, he's got the grip on the outside, and Koopmans has to back out before what was at the corner of the right hand or a bridge, as otherwise he would have just simply been going straight on with understeer, and it is a move that Thomas Cope then moves into P2. Patrik Thomsen is 5 seconds up the road, but right now Coop will need to try and keep Koopmans at bay all the way as he makes his way up towards turn at number 16, making the way through Luffield Bend after Brooklands, and as they come on through, well, meanwhile Thomas Cope right now, if he can break away here, it's going to be Olympus Esports 1-2, and this is the way they'll want it to happen, as it'll give Thomsen all the points he needs in order to buffet his championship campaign going into the season finale. But as they make their way onto lap number 7, meanwhile further behind with Kelly Ramadan now sizing up a move here for P5 overall versus Sean Cranny Swash, as they make their way up through the right hander and down they go through Cops Bend. Meanwhile, Greason behind under increasing pressure from Danny Lee and also Daniel Sedgley, and I wonder how long it will be before Greason starts to lose out. Well, Lee's going to inform us of that straight away as he goes on the inside. They're going into Maggots, and as they make their way through the sweeping S sequence here, Greason having to defend hard. He doesn't want to lose track position because he's worried about losing time to Swash, but the thing here is if he lets Lee and Sedgley go, they may be able to just put him up to that battle. I think he's got to gamble with this, as meanwhile we're hearing there's been an incident for Alex Hiscox further down the road that seems to have to be towed to the pit lane. The car's been retired as a result. We'll take a look back at that when we can, but meanwhile Greaves and been passed on the outside by Lee. Sedgey getting close as well. Parker almost there, so it is a gold trio that's trying to cascade its way through, but Greaveson digging in every corner to try and hold on, but I don't think it's going to hold on much longer. The dam's about to break, and it's going to fly on through the gold drivers here as he loses a place. There's Parker who goes around the outside through turn 9 into 10, and as they come up towards what will be the average chicane this time, Parker and Atkinson not too far back. Meanwhile, onto the brakes they go, and we do also have Emil Koopmans under increasing pressure from Dean Powell in the battle for P3 in gold class and also overall. We'll come to that in due course, but right now, as our drivers make the way under the bridge, we can definitely see that Greaveson really caught up in amongst a bunch of gold drivers where he doesn't want to be any part of this. He would prefer, I suspect, to be able to just let them go and then go hunting after Cranny Swash. You'll have to deal with them as well, with the fact that Cranny Swash has been passed by Kelly Ramadan off camera, and with that now it seems though Greaveson's just got to let the gold tide flow. But as they make their way out of what is left field and onwards towards Woodcock Corner, meanwhile we look a little bit further back to none other than Glenn Humberstone. Right now in P9 in silver class, P20 overall, trying to find his way up a few more places, as meanwhile teammate Alistair Hatcher making a move on the inside to outside there versus what is Paul Joseph Cliff, but not able to get it done initially, but now goes to the cutback after out the final major corner here, and on towards Woodcock they go. Well, can he find it? I don't think so, as he now looks around the outside going into Cott's Bay, and this is going to be a very brave move from the 964 driver. Contact there between the two of them, into the wall they both go. It's a nightmare moment for A-Tech and the same for Paul Joseph Cliff, and well, both drivers there ending up in tears, and well, Cliff trying to get the car moving, but that suspension is gone, and I suspect it may be a tow to the pits of the pair of them. But meanwhile, as Paul Joseph Cliff confirms that tow immediately, and I wonder if Hatch will be able to limp the car around, given he's missed the pit lane effectively, and he is trying to limp the car around, but it's a very heavily damaged car. Meanwhile, back to Adam Greaves as we look to the overall positions once again. And we can see, as we do have Atkinson up the inside versus Greenwood. In fact, it's not going to be Atkinson at first. It's going to be Parker up the inside at first, and then Atkinson tries to come on through. Well, right now, Parker making the move count here as they roll the way out of turn number 10, up towards turns 11 and 12 they go. And Greaves, right now, I think accepting that the only way forward is to take a couple of steps backward. But as they make the way on towards the second half of this lap, meanwhile, we look back up to what is the battle between Danny Lee and Daniel Sedgley as they come out of Bridge Bend and all the way through Priory they go, and Lee right now 4/10 clear of Sedgley, who's given it everything to try and usurp the 188 driver. But Lee right now absolutely having the time of his life in the car, and for his debut season in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, he's definitely gained a lot of ground. He's really become one of those drivers who's a shining star in the field, and when he's not battling for podiums, he's enjoying the battle to try and get inside the top 5, and right now doing exactly that as he tries to hunt down what will be effective for him at Khalid Ramadan, who will be the top for the P5 driver in the gold class he wants to be, and meanwhile trying to keep Sedgley at bay as they head through Cops once again for the 9th time in this race, and well, with half the race to go now, definitely everybody who started to feel that the tyres have seen the better portion of their life, and they'll be starting to know that they need to bring that speed down slightly as the tyres just do not have the grip anymore. But coming on through what is their Beckett's Bend, we do have a bit of a trail through the grass there. I believe somebody has straight lined on into the grass quite recently. We're not quite sure who that is, but meanwhile what we are certain of is the fact that a bit further down the order, Simon Bamber trying to find his way past Chris Eddersford. Eddersford on the charge, after it's Sean Dobie, who's only a second and a half up the road, and I think Bamber here just playing in the rear guard position. I wouldn't be surprised if the UKSimRacing admin team have decided to use Bamber now as really a shield for their driver, albeit Glenn Humberstone being 6.5 seconds back, with also Alistair Hatcher in the pit lane. I think really Eddersford right now, the only thing he's got to worry about is what's forward of him before he considers his teammate behind him. But looking from them up to P13, this is Cameron Smith versus Steve Hobbs, and Hobbs trying to fight his way through for the final spot on the silver class podium, P13 overall, and was the priority rolls his way out to turn number 10. You can see Hobbs going quite wide there out of the corner, and well, powering their way up the gearboxes here into the braking zone for the chicane to turns 11 and 12, and Smith looking comfortable right now, but I suspect will be worried about that growing pressure from behind as they make the way in to Bridge Corner once again before Priory. And well, as they make the way on through, it's Adam Greaves and Jack Atkinson who shared a space going into Lovefield into what is their Brooklands, not not left field. Now they're going to left field bend, and what Axel comes through there as Greason no longer putting up as much of the fight as he did previously, and I think realised now with all the fighting he's been doing, the gap between himself and Sean Cranny Swash has opened up to what is 2.5 seconds, and we'd like to bring that down, and he has got 13 minutes plus the final lap to do so, and now Cranny Swash is experiencing the same trouble that he had only moments ago with all the pressure building, and speaking of which, here it is as they make the way up towards what is their turn number 2, and you see on the inside of Cranny Swash already, there goes Seji, and I think Swash is going to try and let Parker go immediately there, as Parker goes a bit wide, almost onto the grass, and with a 24-hour Punty people driver just eager to get the gold drivers out of the way and be able to focus on his race today, and I think that's the most sensible way you can do this as the Silver Class leader. When you know you've got a 2-second gap to your next rival, it's just let the gold drivers go when they're looking for that move. As he makes his way up into Stowe corner, onto the brakes he goes, and right now trying to make it 2 wins out of 2 here today, and well, that would be a phenomenal result if he's able to do it. But as the Canadian makes his way down the hill, there goes Parker up the inside, so Cranny Swash definitely confirming our thoughts, which was the first opportunity he'd let Parker go, and now it's Shaq Atkinson is bringing Adam Greason with him. Well, how quickly will Atkinson close up, if he can close up? That is the question that's on everybody's lips. But as they make the way on to the farm straight very shortly, from them we do look to Simon Bamber once again, who tucks in behind there. Chris Edisford coming on down into Club Corner, and as he does from the Vale, you can see just how there's Paul Joseph Cliffbine, a lap down effectively after that instant. We saw him have to be towed at 2 of the pits, and as such did make his way into the pits in the end. He limped the car on round, and well done to him for getting it back. Simon Bamber right now, in fact, just following Edisford exactly in the wheel tracks there, and Edisford almost on the attack in front versus Sean Dobie in front as they head up towards Bridge Corner. We're coming through the right into left here and making the way towards the end of what is lap number 10. Meanwhile, from them we do look back to Cameron Smith, and right now the privateer from Scotland still fighting for this final spot on the Silver Class podium. As we look back from the rear of the 23 car, and you can see Hobbs is there, but Hobbs not quite able to get close enough at the moment. It does seem as though FR20 Sim Racing have set that car up to run in clear air, because when it was in clear air, which we saw in qualifying understandably, it was able to push on hard, but he was stuck behind Sean Cranny Swash for a long time in the sprint race, was not able to find the pass even though he got very close. And I think right now for Hobbs it is a car which, when it goes in that clear air, can absolutely dominate in terms of pace, but when he's up against the driver who's able to run similar pace to him, and in the dirty air as well of that driver, it's where the car just gradually falls away, and that extra downforce coming back to bite, albeit this is a high downforce circuit. For those who can gamble running a little bit less downforce, albeit at the cost of losing some corner speed, but it does enable him to gain a lot of speed on the straight, such as going down the hanger straight here, the longest stretch of tarmac, where it does give them the ability just to stay clear. But as they make the way out through Stowe Corner, meanwhile behind them we do see here it's going to be Edisford versus Dobie, and this is for P5 in the Silver Class. Looking around the outside, and they're going to rub doors slightly as they come through. Edison trying to squeeze the Clicks Racing driver there, trying to give himself every bit of opportunity to give himself space to get back on the throttle. Dobie there still staying in it, but in the end Edison will gain the place. It's a fair pass between the two of them, and will Edison now up into P5 in class. His next target is Steve Hobbs, who is the best part of 9 seconds up the road, and what Edison will now know he's got a long way to go here, and whilst the pace is there, I think in his mind he will feel he needs a miracle here if he wants to try and take P4 and potentially P3 in the Silver Class before this race is done, and put himself at least on a level playing field going into the season finale. But as he makes his way out of turn at number 12 and through Bridge Corner 13, meanwhile we look from them back up to Daniel Sedgley. As Sedgley here for Olympus Esports Titan, right now keeping up Parker at bay, and well, the sister Olympus Esports driver compared to the Vanguard drivers were 1-2 of Thomsen and Cope respectively. Right now Sedgley battling to the bitter end versus Parker, with Lee and Ramadan ahead of them and gradually creeping away in terms of these battles. And will meanwhile, whilst this is playing out, one of the other battles we've got on our radar is the battle for the silver win. Here is your Silver Class leader of Sean Cranley Swash, the 24-hour Punty People driver, still 5 tenths clear at Jack Atkinson, and Adam Greason a further 6 tenths back. But you can see how Atkinson and Greason are closing on Cranley Swash, and on that last lap they both were able to find half a second on the Canadian. And I wonder here now whether Cranley Swash is perhaps feeling as though the car's going away for him, and could we see Greason having another opportunity to go on the offensive here? We'll have to wait and see. But as they make the way through turn at number What is 7 coming out of Stowe and down the Vale. Meanwhile, looking for that peak on the inside into Abbey. Well, not into Abbey, into Club there. Let's get the right ears at Sedgwick. In fact, Parker trying to look for the move on Sedgy as they make the way on through, but no way through this time. As meanwhile, further down the order, we have heard that Simon Bamber has found his way past Sean Dover for P16 overall. Change overall position, but not class position, with the gold driver getting ahead of the silver driver. But Sedgy right now under absolutely intense pressure here from Parker. And while they may not be fighting for a podium spot in the gold class, or indeed inside the top 5, but they're both going for that extra point by finishing P7 compared to P8. And Sedgy right now really in the hot seat, having to defend from quarter to quarter, and now his lines when Parker's not close enough to try and intone a move. But as they come out of what will be their left field and making their way on through to another lap, we can see the Subsport driver of Khalid Ramadan under pressure still from Lee, and Ramadan was able to break away for a brief moment from Lee, but I suspect the Somali driver has now been caught up to by the Briton, who may have just put in a little bit more early tyre conservation. And as they come into Cops Bend, through at the right hand they go, sweeping right and up towards turns 2 through to 5 they charge. Car off the road there, and that I do believe is none other than Emil Koopmans, and bad luck strikes again for the Apex Misters driver from the Netherlands. And meanwhile, whilst all this is going on, we've got here where Jack Atkinson has found his way ahead of Sean Cranley Swash, and Adam Greason is right behind. So this silver lead battle right now absolutely coming to the forefront of our minds as we ride on board here with the FR20 Sim Racing driver, who's looking to try and pounce immediately. As they make the way down the hanger straight here, nose to tail they go, 2 tenths between them. But the thing is for Greason, if he can get up the inside, will it be 3 wide into the point? You can see Swash looking for the inside versus Atkinson, and Greason was 50-50 there, thinking should he commit in and force it into a 3 wide, but then Swash may not have the room to manoeuvre and end up in contact with either himself or alternatively Atkinson. So Greason playing it safe in return, and as they make the way through Club and gradually through the right-hander, Greason will hope that Atkinson will just gradually pull away here, because right now he's giving the toe to Swash, and that is keeping Cranley Swash alive on these longer straights, or giving him the position to feel safe. But meanwhile, as they break the way down into Abbey, going left into right here, you can see Greason taking another little bit of sneak peek, trying to get into the mirrors. Oh boy, it's Cranley Swash trying to distract his rival. But right now, Cranley Swash just focusing on the road ahead of him and focusing not to have near Atkinson's car. He wants to stay with it and stay in that toe, as Greason takes a much earlier apex there by comparison, with Cranley Swash going on through primary. You can understand why, with the dirty air of the 2 cars in front, he wants to be able to really offset that dirty air and carry the speed through the course. He wants to stay extremely close to give himself an opportunity. And as he comes out of the left field bend and on towards Woodcote they go. Goes a little bit deep there out of the final corner. That's going to enable the gap to slightly open up to 3.5 tenths. They go on to lap number 14. 5 minutes to go here plus the final lap. And as they head into the right-hander at turn number 1 at Cops Bend. Well, right now this battle on a knife edge here between the drivers. You've also got Nathan Foster getting close to this as well. A gold driver who wants to find his way through and would love to take the battle to Atkinson. But how will he clear the 2 silver leaders? And that's the thing. Greason will be looking at his mirror right now and just praying that Foster's attention is on the fact that he will be interrupting the battle for the silver lead. But Foster at the same time has got a championship of his own that he wants to compete in. And as they make the way down the hanger straight here, it's nose how there's nothing between these guys. But meanwhile, as they make the way up towards the next braking zone, we take a look to what happened to Emil Koopmans on that previous lap at turn number 1. Well, making his way up through the opening corner, and the rear of the car just gradually stepping loose there as he went wide onto the exit curve, and the road surface transition just doing the final straw for the Dutchman and caused him to go on around. That was very unfortunate for the 911 driver, but still it doesn't take away from the phenomenal drive that he's put in thus far. But meanwhile, as we return it to your live pictures, we do look to Kelly Ramadan, who, having fallen behind Danny Lee quite recently, is now under pressure there from what is it, Daniel Sedgwick, who goes around the outside, and Parker trying to look for the move there, but almost going into the barrier under the bridge and having to back off. But Parker going all in on the move. I think Ramadan here is falling off a cliff, and the number 80 driver just struggling, it would seem, for tie life right now, or some form of grip in the car, because it's just not looking anywhere near as hooked up as it was in the early stage of this race. And as they make the way on through Luffield right now, through the right hander they go, and we're coming on through. Meanwhile, a bit further back, Nathan Foster trying to go around the outside here after the inside of Brooklands. On the outside, Luffield versus Greaveson, and this is going to give Cranny Swash a breather with 4 minutes to go. We've got approximately another 3 laps to go, including lap 15, which they've just gone on to. But you can see Foster wants his way through. A bit of contact there almost between himself and Greaveson as they make their way through, but Greaveson in fact does go deep. I think there was some contact, and as they make the way out of Cops Bend, that may be it in terms of the fact that Greaveson right now has lost that, and he's lost the best part of 2 seconds to Cranley Swash, as Foster will make his way past Cranley Swash if he can. But will Cranley Swash see what's happened behind and think, okay, I just need to lift off the throttle and I'll be safe, and tuck in behind? Foster will have to wait and see, but it really is in the balance right now in terms of the silver lead battle, and both drivers eager to get points in their battles to be inside the top 5 and indeed the top 3 of the Silver Championship going into the final round of the season. And with Adam Greaveson, you can understand, because he may be able to give himself an outside chance of taking what will be the silver crown come the end of Suzuka's racing in round 15. So therefore Greaveson right now, it's all on the line, albeit a P2 here would give him some big points, but he wants to win. The big 25 points to win in the feature race would absolutely set him up perfectly for the season play. It will put him for a three-way fight. But as they make their way out of turn number 10, 3 minutes now on the clock, and they charge on down. And as we say hello there to Alex, who wishes all the best to Sean Cranley Swash, saying get in Sean. Well, he's not quite there yet, we've still got time to go, and anything can happen before that checker flag comes. Not to put the commentator's curse on him, and indeed Sean Cranley Swash will know all about the commentator's curse in the fact a regular broadcaster and commentator himself. Well, right now he doesn't want to get anything on here, and as they make the way up into what is their Brooklands, going a bit deep, coming out of Priory, and they're trying to bring the car back together. But as they roll their way towards the end of this lap, the pressure building from Foster behind, but exiting on through. We take a look back at what happened to Danny Lee, and we do believe also Khalid Ramadan. Well, here was Danny Lee catching up behind Ramadan, and then looking for the move only moments later. Couldn't quite find it initially as he rolled his way on through the corners. And well, in the end, was it a mistake for Khalid Ramadan? That's the big question we do have. Well, as they made the way on through, I think we are going to skip forward a little bit in terms of this replay. In fact, no, we're not, because this is how the move was made. As they made the way out of Chapel, then Lee having the overspeed on corner exit, being made to look around the outside. And well, in this drag race, it was all going to be about who was going to be the bolder on the brakes. And well, in the end, Lee all the way there, and Ramadan tight on the inside, still holding the move at that point. Side by side, they went down into what was club corner onto the brakes and through the right-hander, and Lee got in ahead under braking. As we return to your pictures now, ladies and gentlemen, we have had a change of places in that same battle, if you will, with Danny Lee losing out versus West Daniel Sergi, Khalid Ramadan, and also at James Parker. And we'll all try and take a look back at what happened between them very shortly. But right now, we can see here Steve Hobbs battling side by side with Cameron Smith. And Smith there defending as they make the way on through at the right-hander. And well, for these two, it's still the battle for P3 in the silver class. They're battling for the final podium spot. But as they continue their fight, making the way up towards turn number 11 very shortly. Well, with our final lap almost upon us. And in fact, Patrik Thomsen goes past my commentary booth window and will go on to lap number 17 here today. Our final lap of racing at the 2008 Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. We do take a quick look back to what happened to Danny Lee only moments ago in losing at P4. We're going very slowly out of Cops Corner. I think that might be track limits, in fact. Well, no, just going slowly in general. And Sergi looking for the move and getting it done immediately here. And Lee tucking in behind. Khalid Ramadan coming up. And, well, nothing between them on the corner exit. But as they made the way out, I suspect it may have been a run out of the corner, which saw Ramadan and also Parker make the way on through. And, well, we are looking at them as they made the way down the straight, and it was a drag race in the end, which saw them go 3 wide for a brief moment, a phenomenal moment between them. And we'll leave there backing out of the 3 wide and just simply having the reverse Moses manoeuvre pulled on him by what was Ramadan and Parker, with Ramadan holding on the end. But we must come away from that battle, ladies and gentlemen, because we are only half a lap away from the checker flag. And as we return it to the pictures here, we can see Ramadan versus what is Parker going side by side, charging their way into the braking zone for what is turn number 7. And, well, Ramadan holding on for now as they come on down. But you can see Parker getting the better run, coming out of Stowe into the braking zone for Club they go. Ramadan defending hard as he can here. I think Sergi's out of the question. He'll just focus on what's behind him now as they come out of turn number 9 into 10 all the way round. But Parker still there. Meanwhile, the battle between Sean Cranley Swash and Adam Greaveson, it is 1.4 seconds between them. It does look safe for Sean Cranley Swash at the moment. But Parker goes all in under braking. It's a very late move for Parker, but Ramadan there tries to stick his nose in it, but does lose out. But meanwhile, we must look to this man, ladies and gentlemen. He's going slowly as he makes his way through the final corner. He wants the team photo with Thomas Cope, but nothing can take away from a phenomenal drive for the Olympus Esports Vanguard driver. They are going to make it a 1-2, and with it they will secure the team's championship, and with it Thomas Cope will become your gold champion. Patrik Thomsen wins, and run-up will be Thomas Cope P2 in the gold class and overall, and then it will be a further 15 seconds behind, and Olympus Esports 1-2-3 as the Titan driver Senji comes on through, and of Parker, Khalid Ramadan, Danny Lee P6, Emil Coombs comes on through P7. It'll then be Atkinson to line P8, and Sean Cranny-Swash does it. He makes it a double win in the silver class of the 24-hour Punty People team. He does it by a second end over Adam Greaveson, and the Canadian, under so much pressure, in the end it brings on home an absolute dream day at Silverstone ahead of Adam Greaveson P10, and then it will be Cameron Smith, your final finisher on the silver podium ahead of Steve Hobbs in the end by only half a second, but the privateer notching his best performance of the season as well, and then it will be Steve Hobbs behind P4. Chris Eddersford finishes P14 in the end, P5 in the silver class with what's Glenn Humberstone P15. Sean Dobie heading to the line in a car that's definitely seen better days. So I'm hearing that Dean Power has gone off circuit and actually had to be towed into the pits, so therefore Dobie will take P16 at the end, P7 in the silver class, and then it is Dean Powell P17 ahead of Simon Bamber and Alex Thatcher P19. So I believe everybody has finished this race now, ladies and gentlemen. But meanwhile, as we do look here to the Olympus Esports train, the Vanguard drivers and the Titan driver all together here with Patrik Thomsen, it's a win that's been a long time coming. It's been a long time since we've seen him on the top step of that podium, and he's had quite a bit of heartbreak this season. Watkins Glen in particular comes to mind, but meanwhile, nothing can take away from your gold champion, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe with the points he's accrued today, subject to stewards' decisions, it will be Thomas Cope who has made it the gold crown for season 7 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup, and the 64 driver as well with that result with Patrik Thomsen. They make it the team's championship or a round spare for Olympus Esports Vanguard as the donuts are already underway between the three drivers, was they have a bit of fun there in front of the spectator crowd. Meanwhile, for Sean Cranny-Swash, it could not be a more emotive final sprint and feature race combo for this season. He has brought home his first 2 wins back-to-back this season, and what a venue to do it at, and what a way to do it as well, with pressure in both races, whether it was from Steve Hobbs in the first race of the day, then Adam Greaveson, all 30 Adam Greaveson throughout, and the gold drivers fighting the one through did not make it easy, but the 24-hour Punty People driver, I'm sure Roxanne right now will be in the pit lane absolutely jumping up and down in joy, and it means a lot to the team, I can tell you that. But meanwhile, as all the drivers make their way into the pits, Cameron Smith as well having a phenomenal run to a third place, starting to hold off Steve Hobbs as well for that long is testament to what the Scotsman has brought to the table round after round. But what a round it has been, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as the Olympus Esports drivers make the way back to the pits, they've finished their donuts now. I think the team principal has said, we've still got a round to go, guys, don't break the cars just yet or the engines with them. Well, let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. So after 30 minutes of intense racing at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit for round number 14, the feature race in the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup Season 7, brought to you on iRacing, Patrik Thomsen taking the win in the end, albeit by a confirmed 1.5 tenths the end with the team go for the team photo, but it would have been at least a good 4 seconds if he carried on the pace to the end. But either way, that doesn't matter. What does matter, he returns to the top step, and behind him P2 to make it a 1-2 for Olympus Esports Vanguard, Thomas Cope, who with the results today becomes your gold champion. Daniel Seji P3 there for Olympus Esports Titan, a further 9 seconds back, and having to do it the hard way, battling his way past an absolutely ferocious field, which was then followed up by James Parker for iRacing DCW Racing. Khalid Ramadan for Somsport, Danny Lee and Emil Koopmans. The Apex Misters drive just missing out on the podium with that late spin at Cops Bend. Jack Atkinson at P8 there for UKSimRacing admin team, having to come a long way through the field to finish inside the top 8. And Sean Cranley-Swash, as we can see him there in the YouTube chat, saying thanks to Alex with regards to the support. And I think right now the 24-hour Punty People driver cannot believe it in making it back-to-back silver class wins here today. Adam Greaves at P10 net, round off the overall top 10, and the FR20 Racing driver with that second place finish will put himself on a practically level playing field with Edisford and Jeremy DeBova going into the final round of the season. So we have got a three-way fight. Let me repeat that, a three-way fight for the Silver Championship crown next week. And then it was Nathan Foster, P11 at best the rest there for Empire Motorsport, the best part of 8 seconds clear of Cameron Smith, your third place silver class finisher, wrapping up the silver podium of Cranley Swash, Greason and Smith. Steve Hobbs, P4 silver class, P13 overall. A difficult day today for the FR20 Sim Racing drive, but he'll still enjoy that battle with Cameron Smith. But knowing the car just didn't quite have the edge in order to get ahead, with Chris Edison there recovering to the top 5, P5 silver, P14 overall. But the UK Sim Racing admin team, it was an open goal today, and he severely missed it. We could then see Glenn Humstone, P15 for ATEC Tech Racing, with Sean at Dowie, P16 for Clicks Racing. And then to wrap up the top 20, finishing a lap down, Dean Powell in a difficult end to his day here in the United Kingdom ahead of Simon Bamber and then Alistair Hatcher and Paul Joseph Cliss, who rounded off the top 20 for Olympus Esports Titan. We also had 3 retirees, one in win Alex Hiscox for Team Wales, who retired 11 laps on the finish and we classified as a non-finisher for not completing over half the race distance, and the same for Nicholas Nord and Roxanne Marshall, neither of them are able to make it to the grid. So 21 starters, 20 finishers in the end, and my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, what a pair of races we have had. And well, that may be all of our racing action for today, but I can tell you one thing. We've still got plenty more to come on the broadcast with regards to our post-round interviews, which will be coming up shortly. But just before that, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to remind you that if you have been enjoying the UK Sim Racing at Porsche Cup Season 7 so far, and we are coming towards the end of the season, if you've got any feedback, even if you just want to tell us you've loved every moment of it so far, or perhaps there's something you spotted that we can do better when it comes to the league or the broadcast or everything in between, well, do let us know. We do have a feedback form available, and that feedback form is there in the YouTube chat. And also at this time, we'd also like to remind you that if you do want to let us know about your driver of the day, because driver of the day nominations now are open, well, the driver of the day link is going to be available very shortly in the YouTube chat. We're just trying to fish it into the YouTube chat for you, and in fact you can now vote for your driver of the day using the form available there. It's another Google form. It's straightforward, and if anybody's caught your eye today, do let us know. But with that, give us 10 to 15 minutes and we will be back for our post-round interviews. Don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss them. We'll see you shortly. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. And today, well, we've got a winning group of interviewees lined up for you. First, we're going to be hearing from our silver class hero today. And while I'm not suggesting he's going to be your driver of the day, but I suspect he's going to be one of the top 10 contenders in the form of 24-hour Puntypill Sean Cranny Swash with his absolutely emphatic double win today. And then we're going to be hearing from our gold champion. I have had confirmation in the break that Thomas Cope is your gold champion for Season 7 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup for Olympus Esports Vanguard, with pole position, winning the sprint race, and then second place in the feature. And then we'll be hearing from Patrik Thomsen, his teammate, who with his 7th place and his win in the feature has assisted in making sure that Olympus Esports Vanguard wrap up the team's championship tonight. But without further ado, let's hear from our first interview, and it's Sean Cranny Swash, and he now joins me in the interview room. And well, Sean, good evening to you, and congratulations on adding your name to the Hall of Fame of a sprint and feature double race winner in the silver class. You must be absolutely proud.
I'm exhausted. I tell you that. It's quite warm this evening. I didn't come into this race thinking I'd get anywhere near it, especially during practice. I was about 2 seconds off some of the silver guys, so just I was kind of in the right place at the right time in the first race. It just went well from there, really.
Oh, indeed. And going into tonight, knowing that with practice perhaps not being in the ideal situation in terms of the pace you were able to achieve, qualifying saw you qualify P13 on the overall grid and what was P3 in the class, a relatively good qualifying performance despite the challenge.
I was surprised how slow it was for qualifying. Actually, I was expecting people to be closer to the 5-0. I made a couple of mistakes on my first lap and I went off track, so I had to do it all on one lap, which is always stressful. But yeah, I managed to get close to the front, and that's all I needed, really.
And from there, going into our first race of the day, opportunity was to present itself with the top 2 silver class drivers of what was, I do believe, Chris Eddersford and also Steve Hobbs end up in contact for the opening corner, and you were able to sweep through into the lead. It must have felt like you were in a bit of a dream at that point.
Oh yeah, I looked out my side window and they all drove into each other. And I'd already decided before the braking zone I was going to take the inside curb. I'd done a couple of officials during the week, and everyone seemed to push out wide, particularly on the cold tyres and on the first lap. So I planned to be on the inside all along. Just luckily it worked out. No one span across on the inside curb.
And just on that point around the cold tyres for the start of the race out of Silverstone, with a lot of high-load corners, sweepers as well, and we saw many drivers getting it wrong, not just for the opening corner, but also what happened to the likes of our drivers further up the order later on, like with spins aplenty. Just think through what it's like driving on those cold tyres for the first lap or two.
You've just got to treat the car completely differently. I'm lucky enough that I spend a lot of time doing the GT1 cars, and with those, it's even worse than the Porsche Cup. So when you get a Porsche Cup round and it's really slippy like this, there's no grip, you're going to kind of go back to how you drive those cars, and it's just really, really soft, gentle application of the throttle. Get the wheel straight as quick as possible, and just push on from there.
When getting the car up to temperature gradually, we saw the race starting to get up to temperature as well in the battle for the lead of the silver class, and Adam Greaveson, the other FR20 sim racing driver, inching closer and closer as the race went on, and in the last 5 minutes it looked as though the two of you were ready for a scrap.
Yeah, I know how difficult it is to pass around here, and as long as my car was in the right place on track, I didn't think it would be easy to make a safe pass. So I kind of gambled on the fact that Adam would have to make a serious move to get around me. He almost did into bridge. That was very close. We managed to avoid each other then, though, and it was just a case of just controlling the pace out of the corners, making sure I got the entry right and the correct drive out, and just went from there.
And with that in mind, the pressure being on to the very end of the race, and it wasn't just about the silver class win, but also for P8 overall, and with it the reward of the top 8 pole position for the purposes of our feature race. Was the first time you started on pole this season overall, and in fact also in class. Must have felt a bit special knowing you'd be at the front of a gold pack.
Well, I let Patrick through with about 2 laps to go because I was P8, and I thought I'd let him have the pole, and I'll just sit back from 9th on the grid and go from there in the feature race. And then I think another gold driver must have crashed out on the last lap because I crossed the line and found out I was in 8th place. So yeah, it's it's great, but yeah, it's not what I wanted. But I think it worked out. It gave me several gold cars between me and the pack of silver cars.
And just on that, going into our second race, we saw at the very start a bit of a slow start from yourself compared to race number 1, but gradually letting the gold tide pour its way on through. But then we got into the final 15 minutes and you had to start making some very difficult choices, particularly when it came to the likes of Jack Atkinson coming up behind you, whether to let him go or keep him behind you.
Yeah, I treated the race like endurance racing, to be honest, multi-class. I knew the gold guys were going to be faster than me. They were always going to be looking to get past. They're going to be more consistent. So my aim was to make sure that I was letting them pass at the right time, giving myself that gap between Adam and me. Try and make sure there's a gold card between us. And I think in the feature race, I think we were only within a second of each other for 2 or 3 laps in the end. So hopefully that was my experience of multi-class racing coming through there.
Well, it may have been indeed, because come the end of it, whilst there were only a couple of attempts between the two of you to the line, it was enough to enable you to finish with another win in your pocket and making it a double win. And I have to ask, when you came out of the final quarter on that final lap tonight, it's not 1 win tonight, it's 2. What was going through your mind at that point?
We were here last season on the new track, and I think it was the feature race. I'd actually spun coming out of that corner. And I took out a couple of guys on the first lap. So my thought was just keep it off the grass. And I don't know if you noticed, but I was really, really close to going off the AstroTurf there on the last lap as well. So I was just pleased to get it across the line in the end.
Well, it's a phenomenal result, and I do recall with regards to what happened here last season, and with it, of course, avoiding getting it wrong twice 2 seasons in a row, but some major points on the board for yourself today, and it does mean that you're right now in contention for a top 5 finish come the season finale next week at Suzuka. Speaking of which, how are you feeling for the visit to Japan?
I love Suzuka. It's probably one of the best tracks we're going to do all season. If I get time to do practice, then it'll be all good. If I don't practice, then luck will have to take over, I think.
We do hope you're able to get some practice in, because it's certainly going to be a thriller in the silver class to see whether it's yourself or others who manage to reign in those top 5 positions when all is said and done. But just before we do let you go, Sean, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live tonight on the broadcast?
Thanks first to the guys in the chat saying well done. That doesn't happen often. I don't often get a win in a league race. And to the 24-hour Bunty people guys as well, because they've been helping me out all season, cheering me on and whatnot. So that's really good to get as well.
Well, I'm sure they'll appreciate your results today and also the kind words from yourself. But with that, Sean, congratulations on becoming a double winner tonight in the silver class. A phenomenal pair of performances from yourself, and we do hope we're able to see even more from you at Suzuka in a week's time. But until then, savour the moment, you've earned it, and have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
So hearing there from Sean Cranley Swash, our double winner for 24-hour Punty people in the silver class tonight, and what a way to do it. In qualifying, feeling as though he'd be off the pace, but still qualifying at P3 in the class, and being surprised by the low pace in qualifying, and indeed much closer, I think, to the front of the silver class field than he expected to be. But still, that's setting out for success into the opening corner. Having done some official races in his own words, and knowing how it would play out into the opening corner, he played it safe, kept it tight to the apex of Cops Bend, and we very quickly saw Eddersford and Hobbs send each other wide, and with that was able to come on through and scoop the lead. But still, he wasn't going to do it unchanged with the pressure from what was Adam Greason, quarter after quarter, lap after lap, but Greason keeping him honest, and will come at the end of that first race of the day. He was able to take that reverse grid pole, not a reverse grid pole he wanted either, interested to hear that, but still had to negotiate it and build it upon that experience of multi-class racing in order to let the gold drives through at the right time, particularly the way he managed Jack Atkinson, and also the swarm of gold drives coming through towards the end of Parker, Ramadan, Lee and Koopmans, and all in all it meant he was able to hold on for his back-to-back win, and indeed holding Adam Greason at bay in some major points, and Sean Cranley Swash definitely putting in a heroic performance today. We're now going from one hero to another who may also get your favourite for Driver of the Day if you are still yet to cast your vote. And when he's about to join me in the interview room, it's going to be none other than Thomas Cope, and we'll get to hear his perspective on what has definitely been a night to remember for multiple reasons, where it has been the Teams Championship being secured for Olympus Esports Vanguard, alternatively securing his own first gold title in the Drivers' Championship. But as he does now join me in the interview room, we welcome Thomas Cope in. And Thomas, you were thinking, could you do it at home territory? You've done it. You are our gold champion for Season 7 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup. And with it as well, you've been able to secure the Teams Championship today for Olympus Esports Vanguard. It couldn't have been a more perfect day in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, all the stars have aligned today. Obviously, it's never the way you want to win it with your competitor not turning up and not racing. Obviously, I hope Philipp Hammer's all right and there's nothing going on behind the scenes that are really affecting him. But yeah, it is very nice to go and win it, especially on the home race and with the home team and getting the team's championship at the same time as the driver, and everything's in play. But yeah, like I said, I'd like to race Philipp for the win of the championship, especially him being the guy that's defending the championship from last season as well. I've just got to look forward, and hopefully he'll be back next round, and we can have another close fight, and we'll kind of treat that as the final race and take the bragging rights for that final round at Suzuka.
Oh, indeed. Well, it could be dramatic. We see the two of you on circuit at Suzuka, and that lies ahead in a week from now. But coming back to today, in qualifying, you didn't leave anything on the table by the looks of things. Pole position in the end by just over half a second. Looks like the Silverstone circuit and yourself align quite nicely.
Yeah, Silverstone's always been a bit of a track on my calendar I've always looked out for. Happily, it was the track that I got my 6K iRacing on, and I've had a lot of good events, and I've also run the Porsche Cup around this track a lot. Obviously not the legacy version, which throws a couple of different mixes in the way, but still, nevertheless, it's very similar in the way you take the corners and how you need to approach the each lap by lap. So definitely the amount of practice and time I have on the normal GP circuit for the modern day Silverstone definitely did help here today at the legacy version.
All that practice going in well for qualifying, and in the race it looked as though at the start yourself and your teammate Patrik Thomsen were always going to share a bit of side-by-side into turn number one. You had a bit of a slower start by comparison, but come the exit the first couple of corners it looked as though it was business as usual and just gradually starting to break away.
Yeah, I would say I was just looking out, and I didn't actually realise till about mid-qualifying that it actually clicked that Philipp Hammer's not turning up, so I kind of had to pull off a bit and not do anything silly, and just run my race and be safe and consistent. But yeah, Patrik pushed me hard. He's showing some good pace in team practice all week, so really happy that he managed to get a win later in the race season. I mean, I did owe him one after the incident earlier on at Watkins Glen, where he had some mega pace, so it's unfortunate what happened in race one later on with the spin coming out a very tricky corner on the cold tyres. So, but yeah, just business as usual, like I say, and pulling away towards the front with Dickless in close succession.
Well, with the pace you were building in race number one, race number two saw you start P8 in the field, and we did have a whole train of gold drivers in front of you that you had to work hard to make your way past, including Emil Kumans, as we see the two of you exchanging a side-by-side, making your way on through the Abbey chicane, but very gradually picking your way through, and it looked as though this time a little bit more cautious compared to previous rounds.
Yeah, obviously, like I was saying, with the approach today, it was there was a bit more ferocity to the approach originally, if Philipp Hammer was going to be racing, but the approach did change very much last minute, as it kind of clicked on the grid that he wasn't turning up and not racing today. Like I said, it's unfortunate. I prepared to race Philipp, but either way, I'm hoping he's okay. Biggest thing. But yeah, biggest one was just not getting any penalties. I know I've kind of can wrap up the championship, and have done in theory with the lead now, but in theory I can still get minus championship points if I have any incidents and crashes with any drivers. So it's just staying clean and keeping to myself and running my own laps really till the final lap of the championship.
Oh, indeed, and playing a smart and steady approach, gradually making your way into P2. And we'll just on that, with regards to the Silverstone circuit, it's a circuit which puts a lot of load on the tyres, particularly the left-hand side tyres, with being plenty of high-speed right-handers. But also, it's a circuit where it's very easy to get on the power too soon for the corners. And if you don't mind us asking, how do you balance it in terms of the fact these Porsche Cup cars, no traction control on them, but you've got to feed the throttle in at some point to get maximum speed? Is it through the sort of muscle memory you've built up, or is it certainly just little markers around the circuit where you go, right, that's 50% throttle, and then we push it from there?
It's very much a mix of both. Obviously, when you come in and start practicing, you it's very much muscle memory at that point. And then when you start getting to learn the track and do more laps, you start to pick up the point where, right, I'm at this speed coming out the corner. I can start getting more and more progressive. I will say a lot of it will come down to the muscle memory and track time I have with the Porsche Cup. I mean, God, I wouldn't want to look, but I think I probably have nearly like 500-600 hours in the last year of iRacing in this Porsche Cup, so definitely a lot of it does just come down to the track time and timing the car, knowing exactly how to drive it from track to track.
Well, that definitely makes sense, and I think it will give inspiration for those who are looking to take the Porsche Cup out and improve their driving abilities even more so. But coming up back to the championship, with the performances tonight and, well, securing the gold championship crown, we also got to see Olympus Esports Vanguard wrap up the team's championship, and we'll be hearing from your teammate Patrik Thomsen shortly. But from your own perspective, the two of you going across the finish line in formation and then plenty of donuts afterwards, it's a happy day for the team.
Yeah, it's a big props to the team. With everyone in the whole Olympus organisation has put so much hard work going into every league we ever do. I mean, there's so many people that help us out in everything and every aspect of not just our sort of sim racing careers, but just building and prepping for every event we go to. I mean, me and Patrik as well have just been prepping and had about 2 weeks solid on a completely different track. Before this one for the weekend just gone, prepping for another series to go and race against bigger and better teams like Williams and Urano. So yeah, a lot of times we put in behind the scenes for a lot of events. So just heading forwards, it'll always stay that way, and in the way we like to run things here at Olympus Esports, it always means a lot when you can pull off these victories, especially as a team. Not only are we wrapping up the driver championship and having a good result, but you've got to have another driver there as well to help with the team's championship, and Patrik has been there pretty much all season.
Oh, indeed, and a great team spirit there, and it's interesting to hear how there's so many people working behind the scenes. It's not just yourselves as the drivers, but everyone coming together for the common goal of looking to succeed. And well, with the success from today, we heard you mention earlier that you'd like to see Philipp Hammer on the grid for the final round of the season at Suzuka in a week's time. But just for the circuit itself, Suzuka, how are you feeling for perhaps the most legendary Japanese circuit that there is?
I mean, looking forward to it's a bit of an understatement. I do like a bit of Suzuka. I've always had some good luck around there. Whether it's just being at the other side of the country, or whether it's just a completely different type of driving style for that track. But I've always enjoyed a bit of Suzuka, so I'm looking forward to next week. Obviously, a lot of tight, long-winded corners and a lot of switchbacks in terms of lefts to rights. So, and then obviously you've got the 130R, which is a very high speed and technical corner in itself. So it's going to create a lot of drama throughout the field. Probably see a lot of drivers out of position if they've been able to practice or not. So it'll really put a testament on every driver and how well they've been prepping for each event, really, going into the final round.
Well, we do look forward to the final round, albeit we have to wait a week until we get there. But just before we do let you go, Thomas, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast?
Yeah, yourself for the amazing broadcasts. I'm going to enjoy watching this one back at the end of the cool down period after the race. So gotta enjoy it first for a bit, and then we'll get back to it. And obviously, it's amazing always watching it post race. The UKSR guys, I know I'll say it live. I was a bit of an arsehole pre-race with a few other things, but yeah, they took it well, and I have got a level head. and I'm happy we resolved any situation we did have. But absolutely amazing to them guys for even putting on the series. I've absolutely loved it. I think I most definitely will be coming back next season, and hopefully trying to bring back the team with me. And yeah, just the whole Olympus organisation, all the team sponsors, Grip Engineering, IMB Racewear for the amazing gear that we all wear on our screens and on our cameras. HSR Autos for getting us on track, and then biggest shout out to Charles Michel for even making us a thing and making the team legit, essentially.
Well, Thomas, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room. Congratulations once again on the phenomenal pole position, and with it the win in the sprint race, the podium in the feature race, and then most importantly the gold championship win with a round to spare, and also wrapping up the team's championship with Olympus Esports Vanguard. It's well deserved, and we look forward to seeing you on circuit for the season finale to push it to limit Suzuka. But until then, enjoy the moment and have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thank you very much, Paul.
So hearing there from Thomas Cope, the Olympus Esports Vanguard driver, really on top of the world come the end of today. And well, if you're wondering there slightly what he meant about in reference to apologising to UKSimRacing for his behaviour prior to this round, to explain and to be fair, putting his hand up there was a little bit of a debate amongst drivers with regards to the track limits during qualifying. And I do believe it was in particular drivers making their way on through what was, unless I'm very much mistaken, the corner of Club going down towards Abbey, where there was an indication that the track limits could be cut legally according to the iRacing track limit system. And well, some drivers talking about the fact they were using it, given the fact it was naturally giving them pace, whereas others were not, albeit I'm not 100% clear on what exactly the phenomenon was about. But it was just that with the two sides of the argument, Bryn, the UKSimRacing admin team, had to step in and give a level-headed explanation of what would be expected and the conduct from today. And Will Cope putting his hand up there saying that he was on the other side of the fence, but still everything did calm down in the end, and everyone was happy to go racing there. And it's great to hear the fact that everyone able to take the level head, because we're all esports drivers at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. And just like motorsport drivers, the emotions run incredibly high. And as I like to say, the racing itself may not be real in terms of the cars not being on a physical circuit, but at the same time for our drivers, it's just as much as real in terms of the emotions, the thoughts and physicality that goes behind it. And well, for Thomas Coates say it could not be more real for him and the Olympus Esports Vanguard team and Olympus Esports as a whole. Gold champion and becoming our new gold champion name after what has been a ferocious season in battling with Philipp Hammer and the rest of the gold class field. And on top of that, sealing the deal on the Olympus Esports Vanguard team's championship crown at Silverstone with a round to go. It is a phenomenal achievement. And now at Suzuka, they'll just be looking to go for the bragging rights by going up one step further and adding another set of wins to their pocket. And well, if we do have Cope and Hammer on circuit at Suzuka, I can tell you one thing, I'm already getting Prost and Senna vibes, ladies and gents, albeit there's not a championship on the line, but I wonder whether we might have to dig out the old Murray Walker saying, it's already happened when they get to turn number one. We'll have to wait and see. But now we come to our final interview, and we're going to be talking to Patrik Thomsen, the other Olympus Esports Vanguard driver. And as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, it has been a phenomenal day as well for him in his own right. Unfortunate in race number one, looking to make it a 1-2 in all regards, but wasn't quite able to do so. But as he now joins me in the interview room, we welcome Patrik here, and good evening, Patrik. It's been some time since we've seen you all the way up on the top step of the podium, but you've made it back with the win in the feature race and also phenomenal P2 lap in qualifying. It looks like Silverstone today really has been a circuit that suited you.
Yeah. I mean, also, I think it's just a bit of everything going a bit better this week. Me and TC just qualified for one of the top tier leagues, and I've been putting in a lot of work recently. So I think it's just a combination of a bit of more practice during the week and just getting more comfortable with the car again. I've been a bit too stressed out for the previous weeks, not had enough time to really put in the time.
Well, with things on the upturn there, and they normally say that things do happen in threes, and whereas three very strong performances from yourself today, we start off with qualifying a P2 in class on the grid behind your teammate, and it looked so in the end it was going to be fine margins for that second spot on the grid, but you held on by a tenth in the end versus the rest of the field. Perhaps there's a little bit more out there, or do you feel as though you nailed it just right?
No, I definitely left some time out there. I had coming into the final few corners, I had a slight lock up on one of my rear tires, and I nearly had like a Tokyo drift through the final sector. So definitely more time on the table.
Well, there may have been more time on the table, but I do have to ask, with regards to doing a good qualifying lap here at the Silverstone circuit, what do you need as a driver? Is it more about sort of confidence in yourself as the driver, or does it come down to a lot in terms of how you set up the car, or is it a bit of a middle ground between the two?
I think definitely is a good setup really helps on the car here, but it very much comes down to how much you're able to trust you as a driver and put your trust into the car. It does tend to get really slippery on some of the exits, so if you don't believe in the car sticking underneath you, you'll definitely struggle out here.
Well, you had the faith in the car and the confidence in your own driving abilities. And going into our first race today, it looked as though you might have had a chance of going around the outside of teammate Thomas into turn number 1. But in the end, the two of you holding 1-2. And then turn 10 came around and it all went a bit wrong.
Yeah, I just got a bit too eager on the loud pedal, and my rear tires were definitely not enough up to temperature. And as you all saw, that was an unfortunate incident, but it is what it is.
Oh, indeed, but you didn't let it dishearten you, and a great recovery to P7, which in the end would see you starting on the front row grid for our second race a day. As part of that recovery, however, you did have to make some quite bold overtakes, battling in amongst some silver drivers and gold drivers. Was there any particular corner or region of the circuit where you thought you could make the moves fast?
Honestly, I felt like, especially this old version of Silverstone, it's really great for overtaking. There's so many, and like it's almost endless possibilities. It's all about just setting up to get a good run on the car in front of you, and then near enough every single corner is almost an opportunity to overtake. Really, so.
With every corner being a potential overtaking opportunity, you didn't want to let anyone have an opportunity to overtake you in the feature race, and we got to see a phenomenal launch off the line. And by the end of the first lap, already a 2-second gap from the field, you were running for it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a very good teammate, and I knew if I, I wanted to stay clear of him, I would have to pull a gap in the early stages and then just kind of control it from there before he got too comfortable and started catching up to me.
Well, running away at the front of the field, but of course, when you're a bit lonely at the front of the circuit, and particularly with a 10-second gap by the time your teammate had made his way into P2, it's very easy to lose focus around here. Was it just the fault of having your teammate getting close that was keeping you focused, or was there another method perhaps where you were keeping your attention on the track?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, we just qualified for another league, and you had to do the qualifying was a 10 lap average. So I really just had a lot of practice in recent times now, where I have to focus for extended periods and just like even though I'm just hot lapping for myself, I gotta stay in it and stay focused. So I think that helped me a lot today. Staying out front and just keeping the lap times coming.
Well, with your performances from today, it does mean you're certainly on course to where's a minimum of P3 in the Gold Class Championship. Sitting now the best part of where's 18 points behind Philipp Hammer, who we are hoping that we'll see at Suzuka in a week's time. Second place, it's a long shot, but you could still make it a 1-2 for Olympus Esports Vanguard in the Gold Drivers' Championship. How are you feeling for the Japanese circuit?
Personally, I'm not a fan of Suzuka, but you gotta get out there. You gotta overcome the bad tracks as well. So next week, I'm gonna put in a lot of extra hard work and maybe have a hope a little unlock happens for Paul. No, sorry, Philip. And then maybe a P2 is possible, but otherwise, I'm very happy finishing in P3.
Oh, well, speaking about being happy with things and not just the Gold Drivers' Championship looking for at least that minimum of a P3, but also in the Teams Championship, yourself and Thomas Cove wrapping up the championship with rounds to spare. It's a conglomeration of all your hard work. I'm sure you must be very proud.
Oh, definitely. I have a brilliant teammate who has I tend to call him a bit of an alien because when he just gets into that zone, he just flies away and you never see him again. Um, and we have just like together we have done really good work this season. There's been a few unlucky incidents, maybe looking back at Watkins Glen, but yeah, we never let us overcome by the bad days.
Well, indeed, it definitely shows. And seeing you week in, week out, working together, pushing hard, and constantly striving for the 1-2 finish in each and every race has been a treat for us all. I can definitely see there in the YouTube chat, 2ML, Sonny absolutely shouted your name in the YouTube chat. He's pleased with your performance. We are as well. But just before we do let you go, Patrik, is there anybody you'd like to give a thank you or a shout out to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, definitely. Well, Sunny, my best friend who is in your chat watching, and also my girlfriend who I know has been watching along on our personal team stream. Then I just want to give a huge shout out to the team and Thomas in particular. He's very great guy. We bounce off each other and help where it's needed, and I think he's helped me get back into a mental state where I feel like I have a chance and actually I'm here ready to push for the final race.
Well, we do look forward to seeing you out on the circuit for the season finale, and congratulations to yourself and the team for all your achievements over this last week. Keep on riding that high, and we hope you can see your championship end on the ultimate high in Japan. But until then, Patrik, congratulations once again on the team's championship and also your win in the feature race, and we look forward to seeing you in a week's time. So hearing there from Patrik Thomsen for Olympus Esports Vanguard, and what a day it has been. I'm really talking about riding the high when it has come to results and achievements recently for the Olympus Esports Vanguard team. And again, that high really shone itself today in the fact if there hadn't been that mistake in the sprint race, I'm going to put it out there, ladies and gentlemen, we would have likely been looking at Olympus Esports Vanguard 1-2 in every single session tonight, given the pace he was bringing. And whilst he may not have been quite on the pace of his teammate on average in terms of lap pace, he definitely was a slight step ahead of the rest of the field. And with the number 92 driver here, arguably perhaps making up for some lost points early in the season, but either way, absolutely showing that he's going for gold just as much as everybody else, if not a little bit more so. And what Suzuka, he's got an outside chance of taking P2 in the championship. He'll need to beat Philipp Hammer, and by some margin to do so, but they say everything's possible, and well, could it be a possibility that turns into reality? We'll have to wait and see then, but until then, we can only hold our breath. That concludes our interviews for today, ladies and gentlemen. And well, you've just heard from, firstly, the silver class double winner today from 24-hour Punty People of Sean Cranley Swash. We then heard from our gold champion and one of the two drivers who make up the winning team's champions of Olympus Esports Vanguard. That was Thomas Cope. And then we heard from the other driver from Olympus Esports Vanguard, winner in the feature race, second place driver in qualifying as well, Patrik Thomsen. Congratulations to all on their performances, and thank you to them for all joining me in the interview room. And we'd just like to quickly remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you haven't already voted for your driver of the day, votes close at midnight tonight, British Summer Time or Universal Coordinated Time +1. The vote is still open currently. The link is available in the YouTube chat there. Once again, do let us know who your driver of the day was, and we'll let you know who was the one who was selected going into our season finale. And well, it doesn't give them an award, but it may give our drivers a little bit of a boost going into the season finale. And well, with that, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show and you want to know more about the UK sim racing community, perhaps you're sat there right now thinking that you want to be on the grid for a future season of the UK Sim Racing Porsche Cup. Alternatively, you just want to join the community and see what other leagues are upcoming, or perhaps you just want to be part of a one-off event or everything else in between. Well, first, we would recommend you head to our official website to find out more about us, and that's at uksimracer.co.uk. You saw it on the screen earlier today. But if you don't want to go to our website, then we can recommend you follow us on social media, and the best place to do so is via our Twitter, and our official Twitter may be found at twitter.com/UKSimRacing_. And it's at this moment we'd like to take a moment to say a big thank you to our affiliates, and our affiliates do include firstly Swilly Omida Sim Racing Coaching, and well, the creator of the Motor Racing Checklist. Swilly Omida's Sim Racing Coaching can help take your sim racing driving to the next level. Whether you're looking to gain a 10th, improve your approach to the racing line, or develop your consistency, Swilly Omida has a coaching course to meet your needs. Plus, with Swilly being a multi-time champion of official official iRacing series, including the 2021 PSCC, you know you're receiving coaching from the very best in the industry. We also have Race Anywhere, the provider of curated sim racing equipment aimed to only stock products that represent excellent value for the sim racing community. Demon Tweaks, the provider of the most complete and innovative motorsport product range available worldwide. So no matter what your level of discipline, Demon Tweaks could help drive you to realize your motorsport ambitions. SimLab, the leading manufacturer of high quality sim racing related hardware. As a proud partner of Mercedes-AMG Petronas Esports, SimLab aims to enhance virtual racing experiences with uncompromising solutions that push the boundaries of esports and make SimLab the go-to brand for quality sim racing rigs. We also have Amazon. The company is trying to be the Earth's most customer-centric company, the Earth's best employer, and the Earth's safest place to work through the provision of concepts pioneered by Amazon, including but not limited to one-click shopping, Amazon Prime and Amazon Web Services, and lastly, SRC Driver Academy, a division of Sim Racing Community. Elevate your sim racing skills with SRC Driver Academy. Their team of experienced professionals is dedicated to helping you reach your full potential without compromising on quality. But why choose them? Well, let's put it simply, affordable quality coaching. They're experienced coaches who provide valuable insights and a competitive edge. They make high quality coaching accessible to all at an affordable cost tailored to your needs and goals. Whether you're looking to learn race strategies, precision driving and much more, they offer virtual coaching sessions at nearly all hours of the day, every day, ensuring flexibility for all. So join SRC Driver Academy today and unlock your true sim racing potential. Do visit their website to learn more and accelerate your sim racing career. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, our attention now turns to round 15 of 15, the season finale in a week's time at the recently rebranded Suzuka circuit with a new logo on screen. And regardless or not if the new logo is a bit controversial in terms of its looks, one thing we can tell you right now, it wouldn't be Suzuka without some drama in the championship. And whilst the gold class has technically been wrapped up with Thomas Cope taking the crown as of today, and the same in the teams championship with Olympus Esports Vanguard wrapping things up, with only 8 points in the silver championship between the trio of what is, I do believe, Chris Eddersford leading the way, and then Jeremy DeBova and Adam Greason. It could not be closer, and the only place you are going to find out who becomes the silver champion for Season 7 of the UKSimRacing Porsche Cup will be here on this YouTube channel in a week's time on Thursday, the 31st of August. You've got to be there to believe it when it all comes to the end and we bring the curtain down. But until then, we've been UKSimRacing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.